May we just ask everyone just to turn around and wave to our colleagues in Luton and Bedfordshire who are watching on the web link right there. Hello. Great. So to formally open our conference this morning, it's my pleasure to invite two of our non-executives, Gabriel, who's our chair, and Marie Elford, who's our vice chair.
It's M&M, the double act. I didn't know we could move so well. So it was really great. Thank you. So, welcome to the conference. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. Yay. I've noticed the people that are sitting right back there. I've taken your names down. I'll be coming to visit you. Right, so this conference marks a 2-year journey of QI. That we've been on as a whole organisation. But actually, as a board, we started these discussions about 3.5 years ago. And what we really wanted to do, we wanted to sort of release the energy that we knew that we had at the front line of our services and actually enable and create space and give you the tools to actually make that change, working alongside patients. And it really is a journey. It's a journey of trying to embed that culture of continuous improvement that is seeing ELFT actually become known internationally. So, I mean, and that's absolutely fantastic. And we're leading the way in terms of mental health and actually other things like how you engage patients and service users in quality improvement. We're actually leading the way internationally. And people are actually looking at what we're doing and they're learning from us. And we are also really learning from a lot of other people as well. And I'm so pleased to be welcoming guests from across the UK today. Sorry, can people hear me? Yeah, you would have told me, wouldn't you? It's all right, I'm getting all this signs. So we have people that we're learning from today. So you'll see in the programme, we've got our friends from Scotland. We've got Michael West from the King's Fund. And we're learning together with others. So we've got people here from Monitor, the Department of Health, partner organisations and our commissioners. So we see that for our service users and for improvement, we need to work with as many people as possible. So welcome to our guests.
Thank you, Marie. Well, I think it's a hard act for anyone to follow that exercise routine, but I think that sets the tone for the morning, and also sets the tone for what I think is just the most extraordinary programme. I can't think of any NHS change programmes that are still going 3 years on, to be frank. And I think one of the ambitions for today is thinking about actually how we're going to shape this time next year. 2 years ago, I spoke to a number of you at the first QI conference, which was in a boxing hall in Hackney. Today we've moved to slightly different surroundings, and so who knows where we'll be next year. But I think what's really exciting today is this is also marking the start of the work with Luton and Bedfordshire, where ELFT took on the services under a year ago, and now we're looking at expanding QI to there. So it's a tremendous opportunity to mark the start of that work. I think in terms of what we want to get from today, clearly it's a chance to look at the work that's going on, to celebrate that work, and to look at the range of projects on the posters downstairs but I think the other thing that I think is really important we get from today is how we actually shape that ambition and how we actually think about what we want to be talking about in a year's time. Anyone who's dealt with the QI team knows how ambitious they are. And a key part of ambition is having a critical friend at your side. And so I think what the team are also looking for from today is some challenge from you guys, a sense of actually, we've got to this point, this is where we've got to in 2 years, but actually how can we make it better and shape what we look at this time next year? So along with celebrating what you're seeing today, thinking about what that means for your work, also, I think let's see a little bit of pushback. Let's see how could we get the pace up for some of this work? How could we spread it a bit quicker? And how could we also do even better at involving patients and carers in our work? We know that this project has really pushed the boundaries in terms of working with patients and carers. But I think we also know that in the NHS, the bar for that is pretty low. mental health has always led the way, and I think we would probably agree that ELFT has led the way within mental health in terms of patient and carer involvement. But I think we need to get to genuine co-production, and so I think another area where perhaps you could challenge us today is how we can do even better on that. So thank you very much for coming today. It's going to be a really exciting programme, and we look forward to meeting again this time next year. Thank you.
So, as you heard, the reach of our work extends beyond our borders here in London and in Bedfordshire. We have a couple of messages that have been recorded by some of our friends. The first is by Jim Mackey, who used to be the Chief Executive of Northumberland NHS Trust. He's now the Chief Executive of NHS Improvement. That organisation was set up last year, as some of you know, to spearhead the work of improvement in the NHS, specifically the front line, but also to have a sustainable NHS service. So that's the first video we're going to watch this morning.
Hi everybody, I'm Jim Mackey, Chief Executive of NHS Improvement, and I just wanted to say a few words before you kick this conference off. So a few weeks ago at our conference, colleagues within your organisation shared some of your work across the whole of the NHS, so every provider was represented. It was really fantastic and powerful stuff. And all I want to do today is really thank you for what you've done. So I think this is about 2 years that you've been at this approach. Also heard some really fantastic examples of the benefits of engaging with staff, engaging with patients and service users and their families, and finding ways of improving the service. So I think you're really onto something, and there was a massive buzz in the audience at our provider conference. So I want you hopefully today to just build on that, understand that we're behind it, and we'll do everything that we can, and we'll be trying to build our improvement methodology on some of your work. So thanks for everything that you're doing. Enjoy the day and get the most out of it. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Lisa Schilling from Kaiser Permanente. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'd like to extend a congratulation and maybe even a provocation. First, congratulations for the quality improvement work that you're doing every day. Stories are coming out of the National Health Service on a regular basis. In fact, we're going to visit the East London Foundation Trust this summer with the IHI Summer Camp to learn about your behavioral health programs and harvest and adapt it for our own members. So again, thank you and keep going. Now a provocation. Quality improvement's tremendous when it's happening at the front line for every patient every day. All teach and all learn through all staff, providers, and even patients making care better makes a sustainable improvement in healthcare. But that's not enough. We also need to share and learn broadly so that not only are we providing care for our communities, but we're also improving health for our populations. We'll only do this by getting better together. So again, congratulations on the tremendous work that you're doing today, and I look forward to working with you in the future on accelerating learning and spread. Thank you.
Great, so that last message was from Lisa Schilling from Kaiser Permanente. Now, this is one of the largest healthcare organizations, and she's been leading quality improvement for over 10 years. So it is encouraging for us to hear that internationally as well, people are recognizing the work that we're doing. So to move on, I'm going to invite Tim Gill, who's the program manager for the quality improvement project here in East London Foundation Trust.
Thanks, Oz. Morning, all. I just wanted to introduce you to some technology we are using for the first time today. It will enable us all at West Ham together, and everyone in Luton and Bedfordshire, any of our participants watching online across the Trust and the wider world, to watch, obviously watching a live stream today, but also be able to view the slides and presentations today in real time on their mobiles and tablets. It's an online web application called Slido. I'll explain more in a little minute, but we've introduced it just briefly. There's some posters around the wall that explain a bit more. So you'll need access to the internet, which is through the cloud at West Ham, but it might be a little bit quicker to get on the mobile internet. So assuming you all have got on the internet, if you want to go to www.slido.com, Just to explain, so I said you'll be using this app, you'll be able to ask questions during the event, send your tweets to the QI conf hashtag, vote in a live poll, which we'll try out in a minute, and I said view the presentations in real time. So just give you a couple more seconds to get to that page. And remember, the event code is 6789 to log on. So if you can see this slide here, it'll look a little bit like that on your phone, simple little box to put the code in, or like that on a website. So 6789slido.com. When you log on, it'll look a little bit like this. So you can see towards the top of your screen, you have a view of the slides, which will change in real time as I'm changing them here. You can see next to the slides at the top, there's a bookmark. So if you've missed a slide, you can bookmark that and review it later. You do have the ability to go back through all the slides and bookmark pages as you wish. You'll see, if you scroll down on the app, you'll see that there's 3 tabs. One is for asking questions, so you can submit your questions in anonymously or with your name, and we will pass those on to presenters throughout the day. As I said, you can send your tweets to the QI conf hashtag, and you can vote. So we're going to try that in a second. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to get onto the website now. So, Forrad, would you mind activating the poll, please? Yeah, so we've gone with a football-themed poll to start the day. Check you're all online. So yeah, we're asking where West Ham will finish the season. Title winners, Champions League places, mid-table, don't care. Obviously, there's a fair few people who probably don't care, and that's fine. Could have gone a bit better for West Ham at the weekend. They had a 2-2 draw with Chelsea, a dodgy penalty, denied victory in the last few minutes. But I think they're looking good for the Champions League, which would be good for the Olympic Stadium. So it seems like quite a few of you have got on over 110 votes. That's quite impressive. So well done all. We'll be using this throughout the day. So without further ado, I'll just like to hand over to Amar and James to look back at the first 2 years of QI.
Thanks very much, Tim. Good morning, everybody. So James and I are going to take you on a tour of the last couple of years of quality improvement at East London Foundation Trust and give you a synopsis of what we've been doing and the impact it's been having so far. And to frame that conversation, we're going to be using our driver diagram, our theory of change about how we want to achieve our goal of providing the highest quality mental health and community care in England. So the 4 orange boxes, being our 4 primary drivers, are the way in which we're going to talk through for the next 10 minutes. And we're going to start off with the top one, which is building the will.
Thank you, Emma. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. So we continue to build the will in a variety of ways and at multiple levels within the organisation. Starting off, we have a team go and present to the trust board every time they sit, talking about a QI project they've been working on. We continue to use our electronic and paper newsletters. So we send out our electronic newsletter to 5,000 staff every month and to around about 500 external partners as well. And we send out a paper newsletter on a quarterly basis to over 550 sites externally. Has anybody seen the visibility wall at Trust Headquarters? Show of hands? Yeah, so that's on the ground floor. It really is, it's quite big, isn't it? About 10, 15 meters wide. And then it really allows us to tell the story of QI. It contains many permanent and semi-permanent elements. And it's been great to see as more and more projects start to see results, people starting to publish their work. So that's 12 projects now published or submitted for publication in the BMJ, and that will continue to build. And then let's not forget our QI microsites. This is our one-stop shop for everything to do with QI. It's available both internally and externally. And we had a very special week last week because we reached 100,000 views, which has been really, really quite fantastic. And let's have a look at where those views come from. So this is a heat map for 2015. So the red over the UK is pretty obvious. We've seen a lot of views from the UK. We've also seen views from 52 countries across the world. It's really quite impressive. And the visits to the trust have not just been virtual through the microsite. We've seen a lot of people come to visit you to see the great work that you're all doing. I mean, you've got lots of pictures there, but we had an experience day back in April last year. We had 70 international delegates coming just to see what you're doing. And we regularly have open days for people to come along. And we're starting to influence thinking and policy on the national stage now. So we're included as a case study in the Health Foundation Building Foundations for Improvement. Last month, we were featured in the Old Problems, New Solutions sort of paper for the Royal College of Psychiatrists. Again, last month, we were featured by the King's Fund in their Improving Quality in English and NHS. And finally, you just heard from Jim Mackey, the Chief Exec of NHS Improving Quality, but at their sort of launch event last month, we featured very heavily, and were also mentioned by Don Berwick, who is the former Chief Exec of the IHI. So let's hear a couple more messages of support from some of our national leaders.
Jennifer Dixon here from the Health Foundation. I just wanted to send you a note to you and your colleagues to wish you all the well in your conference, and to say I think you're a shining example of how quality improvement can be developed in a trust. You've really made great strides, and you're one of a few trusts in the country that have done so. And most importantly, you've rooted this at the clinical front line, which is where it all really matters so much. Anyway, well done, enjoy the conference, and let's work on something together soon.
It was really impressive to see the very systematic way in which people were working to improve quality, and seeing something of the immediate benefit this produces, not only to patients, which of course must be our first concern, but actually to other staff within the organisation. And I know that this is a trust-wide initiative, so I do congratulate you on what you're doing, and I hope that you're going to continue leading the way for other people in the NHS about how to provide high quality services for your patients. Thank you very much.
And it goes on from there as well. So because of the great work that you guys are doing, we're being nominated and shortlisted for more and more national awards, 12 since the programme began. And that's translated into 5 wins for very, very prestigious awards. And let's finish off looking at the NHS staff survey. So we showed you this last year. We showed you the impact in 2014 that the QI programme had across staff feeling able to contribute towards improvements of work, motivation at work, job satisfaction, overall engagement score. So we still remain in the top percentage of mental health trusts, top 5 in fact. And you can see a very slight dip in some of our scores. We think that may well be due to Luton and Bedfordshire coming and joining us. But you've got to remember that Luton and Bedfordshire are starting their QI programme today. So Luton and Beds are watching this as we go along. And I'd just like to say it's great to have you on board. Absolutely fantastic. And we're so happy that you're starting your launch event today. And we're really hoping you'll have great fun as you do QI in the next few months. Emma.
So the second of our big areas of work is on building improvement capability at all levels of the organisation. And some of you will have seen this before. It's our capability model, our plan for building skills at different levels of our organisation. So we have a good sense of what skills we need and what numbers of people need to be trained at different levels of our organisation. The Improvement Science in Action has been one of these offerings, and the main vehicle really in the first 2 years for building skills. This involves learning in a variety of formats, both face-to-face, through coaching, through online learning, online modules, around a real-life problem, a real project you're running in your team together. We've had 4 waves of people who have graduated through or are nearing completion in the Improvement Science in Action, and in total that's 480 people in 2 years who've now gone through that level of learning. Of course, that level of learning isn't necessary for everybody, and so in the last 6 months we've also started offering a much shorter classroom-based modular offering called Pocket QI, where people can dip in and out as they have the time to learn a little bit about QI. So if you're involved in a project or you just want to find out more, there's now something you can do quickly and easily to learn key skills. And in the last 6 months, we've had 134 people now complete the Pocket QI offering. One of the key elements for our capability building is over the last year, we've recruited a cohort of coaches So the first cohort of 29 coaches have now finished their training in the last year, and they have deep skills in improvement as well as skills in coaching teams. And they are the first line of support for projects at the front line. And we think this is a really key element of our support structure. We're also trying to provide service users and carers with the skills they need to be involved in quality improvement. And over the last year, 40 of our service users and carers have gone through the introductory offering that we provide. So how are we doing after 2 years against our initial plans? So for all staff, we're about 75% of where we think we ought to be at 2 years. And if you look at sort of what percentage of people have been trained at different bands within the trust, you can see the blue bars there representing the improvement science in action, which is weighted heavily towards those in management positions and leadership roles, which is what it's meant to be. The red bars there, being pocket QI, is going to be the way that many people, busy frontline clinicians, find ways to learn about QI and use that in their day-to-day work. So over the next year, we're expecting to see the red bars creep up amongst many of these areas of our workforce. With our coaches, we're where we want to be after a year with a group of 30, and we're about to recruit the second cohort of that starting soon. With our internal experts, who are absolutely key to this work, we're sort of a little bit below capacity, but we're going to address that in the next few months. And our board is really important as well in leading this work. So most of our executives have completed the improvement science in action, and the whole board has had regular learning sessions around quality improvement and how to apply that at board level. So you've heard some numbers. Let's hear a little bit from people who've been involved in training, different types of training over the last year, about their experiences.
Great to go meet the teams and find out what their aims are, what they're really wanting to work on, and their passion for improving the service.
My confidence has improved around the data because we keep revisiting that. So I think now I can actually help my teams sort of determine whether the changes they've made have actually delivered an improvement.
The opportunity to share with the other coaches has been really important. So even in today's session and then previous sessions where we've been able to do scenarios and learn from each other, really helpful, and that kind of group cohesion has been a valuable part of the process.
Very supportive process, yeah. I think it would be good for other people to join the coaching network and join in.
QI is a chance to become creative.
We kind of galvanised the team and team members to actively participate in change.
The training's been really fun. I like how it's been very relaxed stance. And I like as well how inventive the coaches and the leaders are.
I think it's been really useful. I think the fact that it's so hands-on, the fact that we're able to apply the training to our own projects sort of moves it from theory and into something which is practical.
I enjoyed the fact that the training was really interactive.
AI is an excellent idea to come together to make change that happens from the grassroots up.
I know I will take these skills forward, especially into what I'm interested in, which is physical health and violence reduction.
Okay, great. So we've built some will, we've built some skills, but without making this truly business as usual for the organisation, it'll be very difficult for QI work to happen. And that's why we have and we continue to try and build stronger and stronger support structures around our QI projects. So in the centre here, we have a QI project. This is actually the Bevan Ward team. And around them, we have a project sponsor. So that's a senior person who's able to break down barriers and able to champion the cause. We have a QI coach, Amar just mentioned, somebody with 1 day a week ring-fence time to support those projects. We have the QI team. We have QI forums where people can get together and talk about what's going on and share and learn. And then we also have service user input, absolutely important. And when we think about service user input, we're thinking in terms of two levels, involvement with the little I and involvement with the big I. So involvement with the little I is when we're regularly consulting service users throughout the lifetime of the projects. That may be surveys, it may be focus groups, it may even be forums. Whereas big I is a service user being an equal part of the project team whenever they meet. And finally, we've worked really hard to sort of build resources, electronic resources around all projects. If you double click on your desktop for any member of staff, you can now see and search for QI work and the rest of the trust, which I think is really important as the program builds. So we don't reinvent the wheel. We can see what other people have done on the topic that we're trying to work on. And we've also worked hard to make sure there are dashboards available for you now. So you can see data over time at directorate, at trust, and even at team level, and rather than having to constantly figure out how to measure new stuff. Emma.
So what impact has all of that had on projects? At the moment, there are 155 across the whole trust, and you can see how they fit into our two big strategic aims of reducing harm and right care, right place, right time. Many of those projects also focus on similar themes. So the 4 priority areas for us this year are violence reduction, pressure ulcers, physical health, and access to services. And you can see the number of projects working on those areas. It just shows you the trajectory of projects over time, that this is building and building consistently over time. And we're able to track the progress of each project. Each project goes through natural stages of evolution, and we can track that month on month and see how that's developing over time. But the big question is, what impact is all of this having?
So let's have a look at one of our high priority areas, violence reduction. And we continue to see a 25% reduction in violence across the entire trust, which I think is just so impressive. And if you look at benchmarking data below, you can see how it's switched in 3 years from above average to very, quite a bit below average, which is really, really impressive stuff. And underneath of that, some really great stories. So the Tower Hamlets Violence Collaborative, working across an entire system now, across 6 wards, seeing a 50% and 57% reduction, in fact, across acute adult mental health wards, testing a variety of things. This is one I love, Cedar wards. In mental health care of older people, looking at reducing the amount of noise on wards, because they know that has a strong link with violence, using a thing called a Yakka tracker. Has anybody heard of one of those before? And they're showing a 14% reduction in sound. Remember, that's a decibel rating. So that actually is a logarithmic scale, isn't it? And finally, Clerkenwell wards and forensics, now showing a 48% reduction in violence by testing a variety of things, including a sensory room. Let's look at pressure ulcers. So hard work in pressure ulcers, but seeing great improvements and great work going on. A 61% increase in Waterloo bundle compliance, 29% decrease in grade 2 pressure ulcers, and really pushing the boundaries now, testing lots of new things, lots of new ideas coming through. How about access to services? So important for all of our service users. Across a group of 15 teams working to reduce this, we're seeing a 16% reduction in waiting times across those teams, a 19% increase in the number of referrals, with a 22% decrease in DNAs, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And once again, some great stories in there. So we've got the MSK team in CHN and the psychological services team in Newham, both testing texting to service users prior to their appointments, and they're both showing 41% and 80% reductions in DNAs based on that. We've also got the Newham CFCS team in Children's Directorate showing a 19% reduction in waiting times by testing telephone triage. Amazing stuff going on. And finally, you're going to be hearing a lot about physical health today. There's a lot of work, both from the technical side with inline monitoring forms, as well as QI work to tackle this massively important area.
So from hearing about what we've been up to for the last 2 years, it's a real privilege to have with us today Professor Jason Leitch. He's someone I always look forward to listening to at conferences, so I think we're in for a treat. Jason started out as a dentist and an oral surgeon, and for almost the last decade now, I believe, has been leading the quality improvement work across the whole country of Scotland. So Jason's going to talk to us today about how to sustain large-scale change, which is a really important factor for us. And during the talk that Jason's giving, if you have any questions that crop up in your mind, use your phone to pose the question on Slido, and James will be putting those questions to Jason in 15 minutes' time. So, over to Jason.
Thank you, Amar. Morning, everybody. Morning. So there's something you should know. My mother is watching. She's on her sofa in her living room, retired, feet up, usually watches the tennis, has chosen to watch the live stream of this conference. So sit up nice and straight, no swearing. The problem is I can't tell any lies, so I'm slightly restricted in what I can tell you. So I can't, no, I can't. And she says she doesn't care where West Ham end up in the league. That's her most important contribution so far. And my sister's a social worker. She teaches social work in a further education college. She is also watching. I don't know why, because she should be working. I think she's just keeping my mother company. Thank you very much for having me. It really is a privilege to be here. There is you may not know this, but there is a kind of hierarchy and league table of quality improvement organizations around the world. And we kind of thought the league table was full. And you've come from absolutely nowhere. You really have come from nowhere. So we've got Jönköping and Kaiser, and Scotland likes to think it's in there, and the Mayo Clinic and Virginia Mason and the Danish safety program. And then suddenly people started to talk about East London. I thought, that can't be right. That's in England. They don't do QI. That's this big reform thing, happens every 2 years. They sack all their chief executives everywhere in that country. Surely they're not doing good work. So I waited. I hoped you would disappear. And then you didn't. And some Scottish people came to visit you. Some of those Scottish people are here again today, in fact, to visit you again. And they forced me to come see you. About a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, and I visited for a day, and it was real. So I was very, very impressed. It is genuinely real. And I fear that you in some ways are overtaking us, which I don't like. So we're going to try and catch up a little bit. My brief this morning was to kind of give you a very short TED Talk style. So we've not got much time, so I'm going to go quite quickly, but it was to discuss sustainability. So now that you've done this for 2 years, now that you've got 151 projects active, I'm quite sure if you added up the ones that you've done and have finished, it's hundreds now, and many of you involved in those. How can you keep it going? So let me first of all give you some examples from Scotland, and then 3 lessons that I think you could perhaps take from some of the work in Scotland. But let me start here. This is Adam. Adam is a newborn. You may have spotted that. 3 days after he was born, Mum and he went home happily, healthily, no problem. She had a section. She felt unwell on the Tuesday following the birth, which was about 3 days post-op, and deteriorated really fast. She ended up back in the acute sector in Edinburgh, where they live, the second best city in Scotland. And she was really struggling, close to death. It's a long story, but she wakes up in intensive care, and she remembers through a kind of hallucinogenic fever, a staff nurse at the bottom of her bed saying out loud, yes, sepsis 6, 36 minutes. And she, the mum, is one of the team in Scotland who found the evidence, designed the bundle for the sepsis 6, would you believe? And the sepsis 6, for those of you who don't know, is about 6 things that you have to do reliably within an hour of the diagnosis of sepsis. This mum had sepsis and would have died and survived. She survived as a direct result of the broad work in quality improvement in Scotland. So I want you to remember, when I show you data, when I show you numbers, when we think about theory, and as your day progresses, I want you to remember that behind every number, behind every dot on each graph is Adam. is a kid or an adult or a user who's in this room, perhaps, who's been suffered less harm as a direct result of your work. So this is the country we're discussing. You may have come across it. This is what it looks like from space. We've actually made it tartan. We've painted each of the health boards a different tartan so we can tell them apart. Now, here's the thing. We have integrated healthcare. Are you familiar with this concept? It's where one organisation would be responsible for all of the healthcare. So we have no chief executives of hospitals. I couldn't take you to a hospital leader. We don't have such a thing. We have board population health leads who do the hospitals, the primary care, the mental health, the public health, all in the one place. You want to move? You're very welcome. We could really do with some radiologists. If those pediatricians were a bit short of, I think we could probably find positions for most of you. Chairs of boards I could do with. So this is the size of the institution. We've got about 5.5 million people. We've got about nearly £13 billion now to spend on that healthcare. 14 delivery systems, 8 systems that we only do once. So 1 ambulance service, 1 education service, 1 improvement service. And then we're moving on the 1st of April to integrate social care. And that's a whole other lecture. You'll have to bring me back if you want to hear more about that integration move. Let me show you what nationally has happened around the probably 8-year journey we've been on around using quality improvement. Exactly the same techniques that you've learned. We've been in partnership with IHI for those 8 years. We've now branched out a lot more on our own. We use IHI much more sparingly, still use them, and we use you, and we use Cincinnati Children's. We use the great institutions, high-performing healthcare systems of the world. This is sepsis mortality, which is down 21% across the whole country. This is ventilator-associated pneumonia in a microsystem, just inside 1 intensive care unit in the middle of Glasgow. That's a 60-day period, those of you who have spotted it, with no pneumonias. That's unthinkable 2 years ago. It's imaginary 8 years ago. That's a 48% reduction in ventilator pneumonias in this intensive care unit, in that big pediatric intensive care unit. This is our stillbirth rate. This is brand new. Not many people have seen this. We've now moved from our acute-based safety program into a huge all healthcare and even outside healthcare work in safety and harm. And this is Scotland's stillbirth rate, which has fallen 15% in the last 3 years. Principally around fetal movement education for mums. Not only that, we now review every stillbirth in a multidisciplinary team, sometime with the mums present. And it has radically changed the way we do stillbirth and infant mortality across the whole country. I know I keep saying this, but this is whole country data, remember. This is not a single unit, a single board. So the safety program began in acute hospitals. That's where we chose to start. It's where IHI had most of its experience. It's where we had most of our teams, and that's what we did. Now we're in mental health. That's why we've had the connection with you, and it's some of the mental health people are here. Alison's also here, who helps run the acute adult program. We've got maternity and children's and primary care, and that primary care one is now in most of the parts of primary care. I was originally a dentist, so you won't be surprised to know I've been fighting for 8 years to get a dental safety program, and finally we started it last week. So we have, we think, the first strategically placed dental safety program in the world. We have community pharmacy, general medical services, as you would recognize, and also community nursing. So what have we learned? Well, we've learned a huge amount. We've failed, we've succeeded, we've done everything in between. So let me give you 3 lessons that I think you need for sustainability. I think you need, unfortunately, to pay attention to politics. So we couldn't have done what we did if we hadn't used the politicians. Now, I don't know what your equivalent of that is in your world. It may be executive, non-executive leadership. It might be local councillors. It might be national politicians. You will have MPs for this area. They have enormous soft and hard power that you can get into. And we started to do that. We wrote policy documents inside the government. Now, if you told me when I was an oral surgeon that I would spend my life writing policy documents, I'd have thought you were crazy. And I still don't think they're that important, but you need them. They are necessary, but not sufficient. So you need to have a thing that says what you're going to do. And this is Scotland's quality strategy. 2010, it says, this is what we're going to do. There's a driver diagram inside this policy document. Can you imagine such a thing? a government policy document with a driver diagram inside it. It was revolutionary. It actually had numerical aims inside it. The civil servants struggled a little with a numerical aim, but it said what we were going to do. And the First Minister of the country, who was then the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Wellbeing, and my boss, she's still at some level as my boss, she's just risen a level, she stood up in the Parliament and said, 20% of Scotland's patients are harmed by the care they receive, and here's what we're going to do about it. So she took political leadership, and then she made me tell her every week how we were getting on. Because that's what they do. That's what, if you walk in their shoes, that's what they do. But I don't think Scotland would have achieved what it's achieved without that level of political leadership. I don't know what your equivalent of that is, but I think you need to pay attention to it. It's not everybody's job, but some people in this room need to pay attention to that job. The second thing you need to create, and I think we could learn from you actually, is you need to create, it's jargon, but you need to create a learning system. And you've just heard from James and from Amar how you've tried to do that, how you've created capacity, how you've built people up, how you've created an online presence that people around the world are now using. And this is one example of what a learning system looks like. There's a lecture in each of these bubbles, but this is by Tom Nolan's work, who's one of IHI's helpers, one of their big intellectual brains. And these are the things he says you need inside a learning system. And you might want to test your work against these circles. So are you having periodic review by executive leaders or peers? Are you segmenting the population in such a way that you can test and then move to scale? Are you testing those changes? You get the idea. So create a learning system in which the work can happen. That will be at the microsystem level, of course, but it will also be at the macrosystem level where your board is meeting to be a learning system. So we've tried to do that in our capacity building approach. You won't be surprised it looks quite similar to yours. So we've got a Scottish Improvement Leaders Programme where we train 30 improvement leaders at a time, a bit like the Improvement Advisor course, those of you who are familiar with it. We bring Danes and Norwegians onto it to pay for the Scots. We're not stupid. So we have about half a dozen places that pay for the other 30. And the Norwegians have got lots of money. They've got oil. We've got a quality improvement. So have we. That's a whole other argument. There's a whole thing about oil that I shouldn't do as a civil servant. We have a quality improvement fellowship, principally senior clinicians, mid-career clinicians, not only, but that's also teaching leadership for improvement. And then we have a bit like your I can't remember what you called it, but the shorter one, the QI Light one. That's what? Pocket QI. It's a much neater phrase than QI Light. That's our version of that. And then we have board leadership, which we're about to reinvigorate again across the country. We have nearly 350 board members across that whole infrastructure. And some of them know what a run chart is, and some of them don't. So we need to increase that level of education. And then we've got thousands now who have been on our collaboratives, who have been inside the actual work where that key thing happens. And then we finish with lesson number 3. And I think you're good at this. It was your first point in Amar and James's introduction. It was about telling the story. It was about selling. Now, people don't like that. People think it's all PR and fluff. It's not PR and fluff. It is about joy. It's about building up the staff. It's about telling the message both to users, citizens, staff, other politicians, other leaders. And we've got quite good at that. We've got quite good at embracing the difficulty that the media presents us, but we do it. It's frustrating, it's hard, it's sometimes at midnight, but you've got to try and do that as much as you can. So this is the BBC website talking about mortality rates. We've had to explain HSMR to journalists. That's not an easy lesson to teach journalists. It's not an easy lesson to teach mortality experts, frankly. This is one of the Scottish national papers talking about morning huddles. So we took the journalists to the 8 a.m. huddle in one of our hospitals, talked about it. They meet the staff, they walk the floor, they meet people who are enthusiastic about safety and quality. I don't always have fireworks behind me when I present, and I didn't choose for this image to be in there, but this is about selling the message internationally. So we tell the story. So we're pleased when East London wants us to come and tell the Scottish story. We're pleased when we go to America and we tell the Scottish story, or recently in East Africa, where we got the opportunity to tell the Scottish story. So we want to tell it because it builds up our people and we learn from others. These are our massive collaboratives. So we have collaboratives with 900, 1,000 people in them, and we have collaboratives with 30 people in them. We're not as good as we should be at the scientific communication, at the publication of our work, and we need to have a real good hard look about how we do that. I think you guys could probably get better at that too. You've got enormous work, so have we, and we don't publish it in the mainstream literature for science, and we really should. And then just like you, we spend a lot of time submitting for awards. The guy in the middle there with the kilt on, can you just see him? That's what we all wear every day, you'll know that. That guy's Kevin Rooney, who, along with Alison, who's here, has led the sepsis work across Scotland. And Kevin was last year's NHS Scotland Doctor of the Year. I didn't choose him, I promise. There was an independent panel who chose him as Scotland's Doctor of the Year. But that gets us media presence, it gets us to talk about the safety programme. It gets us that press. So there, I could have given you 10 lessons, but in the time allowed, they're my 3. Pay attention to the politics. Create at all costs a learning system and be specific about it. Do not let it happen by accident. And communicate, communicate, and communicate. I don't think you can overinvest. The communications people will love this. I don't think you can overinvest in the communications department. I really don't. I think you have to get really, really good at it. And I want you to, as we finish, remember Adam. And that's why you're doing these 3 things. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jason. Absolutely fantastic presentation. Such parallels between Scotland and East London. That's what it's all about. We've had some very interesting questions.
Are they from my mother, no?
Oh, I didn't check. I did look. So we've got one very good one. How do you ensure that the latest crisis doesn't take attention away from QI?
So the leadership, it's a leadership, 2 things. It's a leadership job to separate crisis from day-to-day work. So leaders can't avoid the crisis. You can't just hope it'll go away. So I spend a lot of my time in that acute moment. I'm quite sure there are people in this room who do whatever the latest target is, whatever the latest big serious harm was, the serious adverse event. But leaders have to, at some level, protect the front line from those crises. The other thing is that if you don't think QI is the answer to them as well, you've misunderstood. So we have a hospital just now struggling with the 4-hour wait. We can have a whole discussion about the 4-hour wait if you like, whether it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's a political decision. We're having it. So the chief executive of that health board has asked his QI teams to help him with the 4-hour wait. Now, initially, some of them are thinking, we do pressure ulcers. We don't do the 4-hour wait. And they came to me for some advice, and I said, well, if you can't solve this, you got no currency. You can't. He's not going to ask you to do anything else. So invest in it. Fix his crisis for him. And they did. Of course they did. So they went in with flow technology, with PDSAs, with norm, but they did it fast and hard, and it worked. So you have to use the same methods, otherwise nobody will take you seriously.
Great. And another one, which I guess is a problem for all of us, about austerity. How can we maintain quality during this period of austerity?
So I only know my system. So there's 13 billion quid. There's money. There isn't new money, but if you walk through your system with proper fresh eyes, you'll see waste everywhere, in every appointment, in every transaction, in your way of working, you'll see it. The trick is for the leadership again to be able to take that waste out and reuse it. So to try and use it for good, to try and use it for QI, to try and use it for other people. If this isn't the answer, I don't know what is. I don't know where the performance management and yelling at people, does that work for you? It hasn't worked so far. It works for a week and then it disappears again. And I understand it's tough. I understand that when staff are short or resources are hard, it feels more difficult. There's a famous story in Sweden where Jönköping, who you've heard me mention a few times, probably the highest quality healthcare system in Europe, a relatively small county council in Sweden, where Göran, who's the head of quality there, was called to the health minister's office. And the health minister had noticed that they had the best outcomes in Sweden. And he said, I want to do two things. I want to put you in charge of healthcare across the whole country, and I want to give you a 10% increase in your budget for young shipping. And he said, I definitely don't want to be in charge of healthcare for the country, so you can forget that. And he said, I don't want the 10% for young shipping, but I need you not to tell them you offered me it. Because he thought there was something in the stress and the platform that the constrained resource gave him. And he didn't want money to be the solution. That's perhaps easier in Sweden than it is here. Slightly more money than we've got. Not huge amounts, but I think there's something in the efficiency drive that we are the answer to, not the problem.
Can we just give Jason an absolute round of applause? It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Jason. So, what we want to do now is spend the next 2 and a bit hours in breakout sessions, okay? So we're going to be running 2 sessions. The first session will be where it'll be our World Cafe type things. You'll get to hear from 3 separate QI projects. And the other session will be a panel discussion and talk about physical health, okay? Now, the way we're going to do it is, because it's such a big crowd, half of you are going to do the World Cafe first, and the other half of you will do the physical health session first. And then what we'll do is we'll run both of those sessions in parallel, and then we'll stop for tea or coffee, your choice. And then what we'll do is we'll then switch over. So the people who did the World Cafe first will go and do the physical health, and the people who did the physical health first will do the World Cafe. So has everybody got a lanyard? Yeah, so when you sat down, you would have found yourself a lanyard, okay? Take a look at those lanyards. Look at the top rectangle on your lanyard, okay? If it's green, that means you're going to be doing the World Cafe first. If it's blue, that means you're going to be doing the physical health and panel discussion first. Now, what we've tried to do to make the flow better is, generally speaking, this entire side of the room here will be doing the World Cafe. This entire side of the room here will be doing the physical health thing first, okay? So what I also want to do is, when you do get to do the World Cafe, the World Cafe will be in the room. Can you see the doors opening now? In the next suite across, whereas the physical health session will be here. And when you go to the World Cafe, it's a little bit complicated because there's so many of you. So we've actually got 3 colours of tablecloths. Look on your lanyards and look at that circle. If you see a white circle, that means you're going to the area with the white tablecloths, okay? If you see a red circle, it means you're going to the red tablecloths. And if you see a black circle, it means you're going to the black tablecloths. And then if you see the number, that is the number of the table that you'll be going to start off with. So 4 means table number 4, 1 means table number 1. Is that complicated enough for you? Yeah? So we're lots of us to help you around. We're going to do 1 breakout session. We're going to do that for just over an hour. And then we're going to stop for tea. And then we're going to go to our second breakout session. So if this side wants to get up, those people who are going to be doing the World Cafe, and move next door, please. Yep.
So, so am I loaded?
You should be loaded. And I'll get Emma. Emma will come up.
Yeah. Hello.
That's like the most. Oh.
I'm in the way, I'm sorry. No, I should just go a better way round, really.
Hi
Hi everyone. If you're staying in this session, could you please all move to the middle section of the room? Sorry.
Very well, thanks yourself. I think I can come and go as up.
Okay, welcome guys. My name's Emma Binley. I'm the Darcy Fellow in the Quality Improvement team. Welcome to the Physical Health and Panel Discussion section. So I'm just going to briefly let you guys know what we're going to cover. So first of all, we're going to do an introduction and chat about the physical health work in the Trust, which is one of our priority areas. Then we're going to have a bit of a chat and speak to some service users who have been involved in a quality improvement project. Then we have a physical health session with a surprise facilitator. And then we're going to have a panel discussion, and we're going to invite our panel where you can pose questions to them and have a bit of a chat. Okay, so I'm now going to pass over to Kevin, our medical director.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So, why are we doing this work on physical health care? We know that our service users and patients, if they have a severe mental illness, die on average about 20 years earlier than a person in the general population. This is a really severe problem for patients with severe mental illness. It's partly related to lifestyle, so you're more likely to smoke if you have a mental illness, and therefore you're more likely to die early. You're more likely to have problems with diabetes and nutritional problems. I think it's fair to say that we've known for a long time that that's the case. But as an organization, and like many mental health trusts, we really have struggled to make effective, reliable progress with this issue. We decided to work on this using a collaborative approach. So getting people from all over the trust to come together and develop a strategy and learning system around physical health care. We developed this driver diagram outlining the work that we wanted to do on physical health. A number of things there, as you can see. We started in a particular area, so the AOS team in City and Hackney was one of the first to get going with this work, applying QI methodology to physical healthcare monitoring. You can't improve the physical healthcare of our service users unless you're monitoring it accurately. And more recently, and then you can see, as you can see here, they've been making sort of good progress, much more reliable. We've been using pods in our CMHT clinics, so the patients can actually take part themselves in monitoring their physical health care. They just go to the machine and it measures various aspects. And then finally, we've moved on to working on healthcare promotion. So health promotion is a weak part of the work that we've been doing. It's difficult, it's complex, but in the long term, it's most likely to have the most long-lasting effects. Steve.
Good morning. Here in Newham, we've been running a healthy lifestyle for longer living project to improve the physical well-being of those connected to Newham Centre for Mental Health. Over the last 6 months, we've been focusing our efforts on Sapphire Ward, and the aim is to get 50% of our service users to achieve 30 minutes of physical activity per day, as this is considered the most effective way of improving your health. We've been using sticker charts to monitor the activity levels for the patients on the ward. And as you can see from the data that we've been collecting, when we initially started the project, there was a lot of sort of enthusiasm and activity. And this is now plateaued, so we've got some real baseline data. And we're running around 10% of our service users doing regular physical exercise. And now we're in a position for our MDT to start considering some change ideas to see if we're going to bring out any increase in them activity levels. Also on Opal Ward, our neighbouring ward, we've been looking at the health and well-being of our workforce and see if we can improve them to get doing 30 minutes of exercise, and also see if this brings about any improvement with patient outcomes. We have had some success with the Healthy Living Project. We've had our dietitian that supported us, so we've completely changed the menus, the catering menus that we serve on our wards, and so our meals that we serve are far more nutritional and balanced. We're also looking to reduce the sugar and fat and biscuits that we serve outside of meal times on our wards and the amount that's consumed, and that'll be in collaboration with our patients as well. And finally, I'd also like to promote our wellbeing games. This is a yearly sporting event that we have. It's held on the 6th of June at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park at the Copper Box. That's a full day of sporting events for our service users, staff and family and friends to engage in. This will be the 4th year it's running. We did start this as a promotion at the Newham Leisure Centre as part of the London 2012 Olympic Games, and so we're carrying on that Olympic legacy. Cheers, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Kevin.
Sorry.
Okay, we're now going to move on to the final part of our driver diagram, which is the service user and carer involvement. And I would like to welcome Dane and Alex, Laura and Sean to the stage. Yeah, of course. So Laura and Sean set up the Bridge Club at Wolston House. So this is a QI project for service users who have been discharged, who are currently at Wolston House. The aim of the project was to increase social inclusion and help service users have more activities that they can attend and engage in more activities, create a community. And these activities involve boxercise, football, a social cafe. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, all the activities that we've sort of set up over the past year, I mean, all of the ideas have come from our service users. So it was service users who wanted to play football, service users who wanted to go boxing. We've also been to a music festival. So it is very much about the sort of building up a sense of community and enabling people to build friendships and sustain those friendships. So it's not just about physical well-being, but it's about mental well-being as well, and reducing social isolation, which is a real issue for a lot of our service users, particularly when they're discharged.
Thank you. And Dane and Alex are just going to answer a quick question each about how they've found Bridge Club. So what do you think about Bridge Club? How have you found it?
Really positive. I think it's really positive.
keeps you fit, obviously, and it's fun at the same time. So I'm very happy about it. Like, yeah.
And what activities do you attend? What do you enjoy attending?
I enjoy the boxing. It's once a week. I don't think it's enough, but you know, I'll never say no to exercise. It's just one of the key points in life, exercise. So I continue going to the bridge club and football, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Great. So this just behind you or on the screens, you can see this is just some of the other feedback we've had. So service users have said they find it really good for health-wise, fitness and stuff like that. It's good to be with their friends. It's a good look. And they said thank you very much for sponsoring the Bridge Club. So thank you, guys. So we now have a treat for you guys. So as the service users mentioned, Alex and Dane, they do boxercise. So we have invited the boxercise coach to come and run a boxercise session for you guys. So I'd like to welcome James Cook to the stage. So James Cook is a British middle superweight champion and a European champion. He hung up his gloves in 1994. And he was awarded an MBE in 2007 for the work that he's been doing with young people and people with mental health conditions. He runs a boxercise session every Thursday evening for these guys. It's had some great positive feedback. So welcome, James.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, I've got a mic. I bet you're wondering why am I walking around with bandage on my hand, yeah? 2 reasons, right? I've got 4 daughters, and boyfriend don't hang around my house too often. So at the end of the week, I'm getting complained, yeah? Second reason, I was sitting down there nicely manage my own business. Then a bloke come up here and said he support Leicester City. And when I retire from boxing, they said to me, would you make a comeback? And I said, no. You know, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think why not make a comeback today with a Leicester City supporter? So that was the other reason. Guys,
we're just going to show you a video quickly first of the guys and the service users actually doing the boxercise session and how they find it.
Boxing is really good, but hard at the same time as well. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, so. But it's good fun at the same time, you know what I mean? You learn new skills and stuff like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go. 1. Keep it on the same leg. 2. Good. 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. Change leg, change arms. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I've been coming since it very first started. I enjoy the actual physical activity, plus being around friends and like getting involved with friends. Yeah, the stuff really nice.
Just like to say one thing, thanks for people who are sponsoring the Bridge Club.
Hey, thanks Sean as well.
And thanks Sean over here.
And Laura and Hannah.
And Laura.
Thanks,
and all the
Hannah.
people who helped like run it.
I've got to say that, sorry.
And thanks you for James Cook for taking us on and yeah, and his MBA. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Had a cold native, so not bad for
Oh yeah, one more thing. Thanks to the coach as well. He's over there relaxing.
Yes.
Cheers, the coach as well, yeah?
Cheers, coach.
Yeah. Nice.
like I say, guys, I look forward now to sort of go home, relax with my grandkids. But now on a first day, anywhere I am, I try to get back for these guys for 6 o'clock. 6:05 come, they're on the phone to me. Coach, where are you? Coach, where are you? So what I decided to do next year is to put up the money for East London. So see if I could pay me a bit more. Right, guys. Okay, this bloke from Leicester City, okay? I really give you the warm-up, right? Now, I don't agree with a lot of things the government do or the government say, but there's one thing I agree with: fitness, health. You know, to me, it's probably the most important thing in the world. Yeah, because without your health and your fitness, nothing can happen. Yeah. So I mean, I've been doing sort of boxing and fitness when I was 10. And if I lose my six-pack, I'm going to lose my missus. So, you know, and I had these when I was 10. I'm now 57, right? You know, fitness is probably, to me, is one of the most important things in the world. Because when you're fit and when you wake up and you know you're fit, you feel good. Now, we, as fighters, we go running early in the morning at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, probably talking to ourselves. People think I'm mad. But we're trying to get the early fresh air, okay? Now, since that bloke from Leicester City, I really done the warm-up, right? To do 3 minutes of punching to get the heart and the lungs working, right? At the end of the day, when anyone come to the gym, they come to the gym because they want to keep fit. They had a bad day with the boss, didn't get no pay rise. So you come in and you punch the bag and you punch the pads, okay? Now, we've got some gloves here. We've got some pads, okay? You already done the warm-up, so anyone out here want to come and see if they could punch something for a minute, we're good to go. Come on then, let's go, let's come on, let's do a little bit then, come on. Let's do a little bit. Anybody else want to join her? Come on, anybody else want to join her? Don't forget it's all about the heart and the lungs and the fitness, don't forget. Right, let me work with the man from Leicester City. Put your gloves on. Right, is somebody gonna time me? What we're gonna do? We're gonna do a minute for you? Or you wanna go for 3 minutes? That I like, that I like. Okay. John, you do this lady. I'm gonna make my comeback over here. Coming up here, my Leicester supporter in the middle of West Ham and Arsenal down the road. Just upset me straight away. And I usually am a nice guy, born from the boyfriends. Okay, I need somebody to time this. Okay? 3 minutes. We're going for 3 minutes?
Yeah. 3 minutes? Yeah, 3 minutes.
You want to go for 3 minutes?
No.
All right, we're going to go for a minute, okay? And I'm going to time it for a minute, okay? All I want is just a minute, and you watch the heart and the lungs. She's going to go for a minute, okay? Right? All what it is going to be non-stop just like that for a minute, yeah? You ready, sir? Tell me when you're ready. Okay, let's go. No, crossing. You see, stop the car. See, this is the reason why I'm not making my comeback now. Change my mind, you see. When we punch it, we're going to cross. Yeah, we're crossing like that, yeah? Okay, so that, okay, right, so you ready? Right, go. 1 minute, we got to go for, yeah?
Come on, Kevin.
Now, this is where, forget about this young man now, this is where I'm going to get my 25%. See, because I train professional fighters, so you could be on the list. But for me to get 25%, well done. Okay, anybody else want to try? Don't forget, none of you get no pay rise. Anybody else want to come and have a quick go? Imagine the boss didn't give you no pay rise this week and he upset you. You're coming late. So guys, so this is what we do. Like I said, we don't agree. I don't agree with a lot of stuff, but what I do agree with, fitness, health. You understand me? If you're not fit, trust me, it's not gonna happen. You know, even if you go for a walk around the block or you do it quick or whatever, you don't have to do it every day. You don't have to take it to the level So I take it because I had no choice, you know. But as long as you're doing something, get that going, then you feel very good when you wake up in the morning. Yes.
Should we give a massive
Thank
round
you,
of
guys.
applause to James, everybody? Thank you. Okay, so I hope you guys found that fun. I'm now going to pass over to Olivia Carmichael, who is our global link, and she links the Beauty Beaker work.
Thank you. So I'm Olivia, and I coordinate our global health partnership, which I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but we have a partnership with Beauty Beaker Hospital in Uganda, which is the national mental health referral hospital. And we celebrated our 10th anniversary in 2015, so it's a long-standing partnership. And as you've already heard, people suffering with serious mental health problems have increased rates of physical health, and the same is true in Uganda as well. So we commissioned in 2015 some physical health projects with our partner in Uganda. And we also partnered with the Ugandan Diaspora Health Foundation. And so we did 2 projects, which was led by Kate Corlett and Rachel Kemp from within the Trust. And they were adapting our physical health training and going over and doing that in Beauty Beaker and training the staff there. We also had a project that was a football initiative, which we were connecting up local football teams, professional football teams in Uganda, and running some football programs with the service users and the staff at Beauty Beaker Hospital. And the aim there is to obviously raise awareness, talking about increasing non-communicable diseases in Uganda, but also to deal with the stigma of mental health. And yes, so I just wanted to briefly talk to you about the fact that we have these international projects and inspire you to the fact that not only is East London getting international recognition for the projects they're doing in London, but also that we're doing great work internationally as well. And just to inspire you about that. Thank you.
Okay, so I hope you guys have found that fun. We've covered all sorts of physical health related things, and you guys have had a chance to attend a session run by a former champion, a boxing champion. I'm now going to pass over to Jen, who's going to lead the panel discussion. And if you guys have a question, please make sure you add it through Slido. Any questions for the panel?
Sorry about that. Lovely. Emma, can everyone hear me okay? Great. Okay. Wonderful to be here. I'm Jen. I'm one of the QI leads on the QI team, and I'm going to be chairing this session today, which is going to be a Q&A with some of our leadership team. So I'd like to invite to the stage Paul Galuli, please, Professor Jonathan Warren, Dr. David Bridle, Dr. Navina Evans, and Paul Binfield, who will be joining us for this session. And just to introduce them properly, here we go. So we have Dr. Navina Evans, who's our Deputy Chief Executive, Professor Jonathan Warren, our Director of Nursing, Dr. Paul Galuli, who's Head of our Forensic Services, Dr. David Bridle, who's Head of our Services for Mental Health in City and Hackney, and Paul Binfield, as I said, Senior People Participation Lead. No, not a doctor yet. Lovely. So because of time constraints today, we've had some questions submitted early, which we're going to kick off with. But to remind you, if you would like to pose a question yourself, you can do that via the Slido system using the code we showed you at the beginning. So, I mean, our first question, start on quite a positive note. Perhaps it's a good one for Jonathan. Jonathan, would you like to give us your thoughts on some of the main successes of the QI program over its first 2 years and why you think those are our biggest wins?
Goodness, I'll give two answers to that, if that's okay, Jen. So I think the first one is just looking at some of those individual projects as just makes such a difference to our patients. At the end, as Jason said earlier, the end of all these run charts that we see is an improved experience for patients. So the reduction of violence on our wards, we know that's what our patients felt was most important to them. The improved access to some of our services means our patients are seeing our professionals earlier. But I guess it's something a bit before that is probably the most important thing to me, and that has been sort of really unleashing the power of you, really, of our staff to lead improvement, which has required us to change our behaviour to allow you to do that. And I guess that's been a challenge for us, but boy, has it been fantastic to see. So that's my answer, Jen.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Perhaps flip side to that, obviously we know there's some challenges in doing work like this. So Navina, could you give us some thoughts on some of the main challenges you feel we've faced in embedding quality improvement and some of the strategies we're using to tackle these?
So I think if we think about the journey we've been on from the start, I think one of the early challenges was really when we were building the will. And, you know, lots of us have been through lots of initiatives, talk about improvement. There was some degree of skepticism, myself included. You know, here we are. Is this another sort of thing that we have to do? And I'm really pleased to say that on the whole, our staff have really felt that this is something worthwhile, and I think we've overcome that, and we'll keep on at working for that. The other is, I think we've got so many competing demands mostly on our frontline staff, and the environment around us in the health service is not an easy one to work with. So people keep saying when we talk to them it's about time, and it's about, you know, how we can make this part of our day-to-day work so it's not seen as an additional thing you have to do. And that's the next phase, I think, for all of us, because everybody does improvement. It's nothing new. We're all trying to improve what we do all the time for our patients and carers and for our staff. So it's really how we can get this to be just normal everyday work, so that it doesn't become or feel like an additional ask or an additional burden. So for me, that's the next step, really. And I don't have the answers, and I certainly don't have many ideas, but I think lots of people in this room and across the organization have got the answers on how we can do this. And, you know, looking to be liberated from some of the things that we don't want to do and don't feel is useful, and we should be bold actually to not have to do that sort of stuff. So that's where I think we are at the moment.
Thank you very much. I've had another question which is a bit connected to this, I suppose, and perhaps David, as a clinical director of one of our services, you might have some thoughts on this around how do you go about engaging and influencing staff who, you know, may be experiencing QI as just another one of those initiatives or stages that we're going through.
I guess there are two different bits to this. One bit is about the discussion with people who have that view, and the other is probably a more general kind of perspective on that. I suppose in thinking about it, I think it's a very valid stance for people to come from, and Navina touched on it. The reality is that there are lots of initiatives that come through all the time, and so I very much would validate that perspective. I think it's a very reasonable place for people to be at and to question that. The reality is we don't know what the future holds. Who knows what could happen with integrated care and devolution and all sorts of things that might disrupt whatever is a good thing going on in a particular organization. But getting beyond that, the reality is that actually we still will need to have some kind of mechanism of change to improve quality. That in some form is not going to disappear. And I think that it's really important to bring things back to the principles that kind of people value. And I think a lot of those principles are embedded with this kind of QI initiatives that we're doing at the moment. So things like really meaningfully engaging frontline staff with both kind of influencing and kind of being part and parcel parcel of the changes that are introduced, kind of allowing people to do changes that might not work out as hoped, and for that to be fine and a good thing, for allowing people to be innovative and come up with kind of ideas that you know, would not necessarily have come up otherwise, and also being able to kind of have evidence to back up the changes and the impact that they're having. So I think bringing things back to those principles and engaging people with looking at the principles, and actually those principles are generally pretty well aligned with most staff and how they view things and what they think is important in terms of enabling change. So I think that's some kind of individual discussion. On a more general sense, I guess that I would say that the perspective we've taken in City and Hackney is to really focus on just getting on and doing it. So working with the people who are engaged, who are interested, and kind of getting projects happening and embedding the QI methodology. And that's, I guess, kind of linked to the idea of work with people who are early adopters and let others see the changes that come about with that. Let them see the kind of impact it has. And I think that so therefore what we're doing is really just making sure that through all our kind of meetings, our mechanisms, our forums and so on, wherever we're thinking about change, that we're thinking about QI as kind of one of the mechanisms and probably the main mechanism, if it's appropriate for that kind of change. And so as it becomes more and more normal business and more the way that we are approaching it, we're thinking about it, I think that in turn, seeing the impact of it, seeing positive effects from it is probably the most important and most powerful mechanism for influencing people and enabling change, kind of a perspective.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I mean, one of the big, David's sort of referring to one of the theories we use in QI in terms of understanding the human dimensions of change and how you can inspire people to come on board through, you know, working with those who are most willing and going from there. So thank you very much. Okay, maybe a sort of specific dimension to some of the challenges we face then. We've mentioned already this morning some of the financial challenges for our services. But Paul, I mean, as a director of services yourself, do you have some views around when we're under sort of such significant financial pressures? Do you see QI sort of fitting in with this and helping us with those challenges? And if so, how? And do you have any sort of specifics around any financial benefits you've already seen in forensics?
Yeah, maybe before I start off, though, my slight concern is when we always come to talk about money, for some reason it comes to the Scotsman the whole time. So whether there's a bit of cultural stereotyping going on there, I noticed Jason got it this morning and then I'm getting the financial question later on. I suppose Jason got a very similar question this morning. I'd repeat what he said. I think we all know within the health service, when we look around the health service, when we look within our own work, we can find wastage. And one of the things we want to do is remove that wastage. I think more importantly is talking about improving our efficiencies. I think for me, QI has given us a real good structure and methodology to go about looking at how we measure what we do and how we can improve the efficiency in what we do. And for me, that's how we can go about improving quality. I think having worked in improving quality for quite a while, there's always this assumption that the only way to improve quality is by getting more money. I don't think that's the case. There's other ways to go about improving quality rather than spending more money. Within forensic, we've seen quite a bit of this. I don't think we're at the point of evaluation. I think we're still in quite early days. But I think from kind of anecdotal, we're starting to see big changes. So you heard this morning already about the Clerkenwell project, where they've got violence reduction projects and seen violent incidents reducing by over 48%. We've also got similar projects going on in Westbury Ward, which is our intensive care ward in medium secure, and Shoreditch Ward, which is our male learning disability, and seeing similar reductions in violence within those units as well. What I'm seeing at the same time that's starting to occur is a massive reduction in staff sickness. My staff sickness rates are lower now than they've been for over the whole 3 years that I've actually been within the service. So as a result, what I suggest is we probably, I've not looked at it yet and we have to look at those figures, but what I would suggest is we're going to end up with a reduction in the use of bank and actually cost savings. So actually by improving quality of patient care, we're also improving our financial use of money as well and our use of bank staff. So we can see some indirect cost savings, I think, at times. There's other things that are more direct, easy savings. One of the things that we're doing forensic quite a lot at the minute is use handcuff escorts, and we use a private company to actually escort our patients out and provide handcuffing escorts. We're looking at reducing that quite dramatically, again using the QI methodology, and through that actually making savings within the service whilst improving quality and at the same time reinvesting that back in the service as well. So I don't think we're at the stage yet of actually giving you firm evidence, but I think anecdotally we're starting to see the evidence coming through, and what we really need to do is start doing some more work on that so we can show it.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, of course, there's a role for the QI team in this, and we're working very closely with the support of the finance team actually to do some of the number crunching around projects, to be calculating some of these cost benefits that we're seeing as well. Very important work. Okay, we've talked about this morning service user involvement, and this is a question obviously for Paul, I think. Could you tell us, Paul, what are our strategies? Obviously, we've done well, but there's a way to go. How can we go about increasing service user involvement and care involvement, in fact, in QI?
Yeah, I think one of the things we found earlier on is there's a massive appetite for service users and carers to get involved. I think our initial sort of enthusiasm and motivation to do that, we tried to do it too quickly, and people were saying, why should I get involved? What will I get out of it? So what we have done now is wrapped around all the sort of recovery agenda in mental health around QI. So we're looking at how, by people getting involved, how can they skill up as individuals by learning things, sort of presentation skills, confidence, self-esteem, you know, doing a lot of the graphs that I don't understand, but a lot of our guys can do them quite well. So we're sort of wrapping it around how can we skill up the population that we serve to help us, but also to help them get on and move on, hopefully when they don't need us so much. So I think that was the first thing that we started to look at. The other thing that I think we need to put in place a bit more systemically is getting the service user and carer involvement right at the beginning of a project development. So I know it's part of the QI charter that, you know, how are you involving service users and carers in your project? But I think we need to look at how we do that a bit more robustly and support you to think about different ways to get people involved, because often the staff and the project groups are really enthusiastic to get the patients and service users and carers involved, but you're often stuck about how much can we ask people to do, how much can we pay them. So we've put a lot of that resource on the QI microsite. So I think our next challenge is to do that a bit more systemically across all projects.
Fantastic, thank you, Paul. And hopefully in a year's time, we'll be able to talk about the progress on that. Another question, which actually brings together a couple of things. I think probably for Navina, if that's okay. As an organisation that embraces continuous improvement, what role do you feel QI has in helping staff feel valued and find joy in their work? And actually linked to that, a question that has also come in the course of this session is, we've been talking about physical health a lot, and what about physical health of our staff? Some sentiment in the audience, we need to lead by example. So
I'm going to lead by example. I'm not sure about that.
Starting with boxer size.
Okay. So in terms of what we can do, what QI has to offer, and what's really important to us is, coming back to what we said earlier, things are getting more and more difficult. I'm always amazed by the fantastic staff we have. People don't earn a lot of money. Working in the NHS is not easy, and it's going to get harder. But what people really value is the contact with patients and carers, and being able to make a difference to people's lives. And that's what we need to tap into. We also, I think, really need to I want to have a lot of fun when I come to work. And I think that if I didn't have fun, then you know, I find it really difficult, and I think everybody should. And I'm really pleased that this program and working with the IHI actually gives you permission, in a way, about to talk about joy at work. Joy is very American. I like fun, but you know, I think that is really important. And somehow, sometimes people feel you're not allowed to, but that's really important. And someone was saying earlier, we spend how many hours of our lives at work, so you've got to be happy in your job. And if you're happy, then you know, service users, carers, patients will benefit. The other thing I think is critical is that we've got to a point now, all these years, trying different initiatives to get things right, and some with varying degrees of success. I really believe that we put a lot of our eggs, if you like, in this QI basket, because it makes so much sense that improving quality is something that everybody buys into. It also means that as an organization, we can be brave and transparent and say we want to be better. Maybe even go as far as saying this isn't good enough, but nobody's to blame because the whole organization has to make it better. The best thing for me is that service users, patients, carers, they're not angry with us. Through this program, people are saying, right, this wasn't good enough for me, and we want to help you to make it better. And that is just so humbling, and so I think it's a fantastic place to start. So it's a bit rambling there, but I could go on for ages on this. I think it ticks all those boxes for where we can go forward in the trust, in our communities. We've seen what happens in Scotland. Maybe we could be even more ambitious, thinking about integrated care and what role we play. So there's loads and loads of opportunities.
Fantastic, thank you. Another question that's come through, guess getting into something a little bit more tangible in terms of your QI work, that some of you have been very directly involved in projects as sponsors or project leads even, and people are interested in some of the barriers that you've encountered in that work or in those roles, and sort of actually how you overcome those. So I don't know if anyone would feel they've got some thoughts on that they could contribute.
Oh goodness, I'll have a go. A different one. Each project has unique challenges and unique barriers, so it's really difficult to generalize. So I think some of the problems we have are firstly people being hugely ambitious with what they want to do. So you know, they want to reduce violence by 50% in 2 weeks by doing a whole host of stuff, and of course that isn't going to work. I think the project that Diane's not here, hopefully she's in Bedford listening, and Lorraine and I got involved with early was around prone restraints, and people will have seen that work and seen the reduction in prone restraints. It was just when QI was kicking off that we started that work, and we didn't follow methodology, and we did about 10 change things all at once. Now, we did drop prone restraints, but when we couldn't keep up or couldn't keep asking our staff to do all of those 10 things all the time, we didn't know which one had made the difference. So poor old Lorraine here has had to, over the last 6-7 months, try each one again to see which one it is has had the most difference. So I think there's something about it so that we can focus on that to have the biggest difference. So I think there's something about really understanding the methodology, about doing it properly and having some support from experts around you to get it right.
Can I add one? I think the other thing is that the methodology allows a system for going back and looking. So when something's blocked, you can sit down and systematically look and identify what it is. And sometimes it's something really simple that can be unblocked. I can't think what it is, but it's usually really simple. You can think of something.
Sorry, and just to add to what's being said, I mean, obviously there's real barriers that everyone can imagine about time and capacity and freeing that up that's been touched on already. But the other thing that struck me is that a lot of the areas that we focus on are obviously important areas, and quite rightly it means that others are focusing on those areas as well. So commissioners are interested in exactly the same areas. And so KPIs and sequence and all of the kind of performance metrics that are expected seem to also sometimes kind of coincide with some of the areas that we're trying to focus on. And that can be helpful, but it can also create a difficulty because there can be expectations that you absolutely have to reach this performance by a certain stage, and it may disrupt something about the process that you're following at the time. And we saw that a little bit with our physical health, where we got a little bit kind of, we were going down a QI methodology with a particular thing, and then sequence came in, and actually we need to prioritize making sure we get the funding in. So of course that kind of creates a difficulty and a barrier in terms of how to address that and how to manage that tension.
Thanks, David.
You want to add one?
Okay.
Well, I think one of the big barriers, and this comes from service users and carers, but I've also heard a lot of staff talk about this as well, is I think people are getting mixed up with QI, and they often think of this big academic pursuit that you've got to do lots of graphs and lots of charts and you need a certain skill level to do it. It's not. You know, you've all probably got a fantastic idea that you could implement that's a small idea or a large idea, and it is just doing that and proving it works in its basic essence. And I think we can often be caught up trying to describe it in a nice fluffy way around academia, but that's helpful and it's useful for some members of staff and some service users and carers. But for me, it's always breaking it down to what it is and what are we doing. And that's making small, robust changes that we can prove are working. And that should always be at the core of it for me.
Thanks, Paul. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We could go on for a long time, I think, with thoughts around this. But we do need to wrap this session up. If you could join me with some applause to our panel, thank you very much for your contributions.
Second breakout session, everyone. I'm going to ask a favour. If you could all please move to the middle of the room. Or as close to as you can get.
I think that sounds like confirmation.
Okay, so you guys have just done the World Cafe. This session's going to be slightly different. So we're going to begin with some presentations on physical health, which is one of our priority areas for our quality improvement work. We're then going to talk to some of the service users who have been part of a quality improvement project and have had the benefits of that. We're then going to have a physical health session, physical activity session, with a surprise facilitator. And then we're going to have a panel discussion where you guys can pose some questions to our panel and they'll provide you with some answers. So I'm now going to hand over to Dr. Kevin Cleary, our medical director.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. So why have we made physical health care a priority for us as an organization? We know that if you have a severe mental illness, your life expectancy is reduced by about 20 years over someone compared who's living in the general population. This is a tragedy. It's something that we've known for a long, long time, but it's also something which we haven't effectively been able to do anything about. Why does this happen? It's partly because of lifestyle. So if you have a severe mental illness, you're more likely to smoke, and obviously that has a very significant impact upon your health. Your nutrition is more likely to be poor. you're more likely to develop diabetes, and in some parts of our organisation, our patients have type 2 diabetes rate of about 30%, and that's really, really high. We've done a number of things recently to sort of look at how we can change things. So we've developed a trust-wide physical health care collaborative. Our staff have come together from all over the organisation to think about how we can improve the health care of our patients, the physical health of our patients, service users. And we've done a number of things here. As you can see, we looked at equipment assessment and monitoring. You have to do a whole load of sort of complex things really to sort of make an effective difference to what's happening. One of the first teams to do this work was the AOS team, the Assertive Outreach team in Hackney. One of the things that which you have been bad at doing is reliably, 100% of the time, monitoring the physical health of our patients. So one of the things they did was get one of these pods, and these are all in our CMHTs now. So service users, patients can take part in monitoring their own healthcare. So they come in whilst you're waiting, you can stand on that machine and it measures your pulse, your weight, your blood pressure, and calculates your BMI. Having done this successfully, started to roll this out across the organisation. And then work on health promotion. Again, it's something which actually I think secondary healthcare services, mental health services have been quite poor at. So getting people to stop smoking, physical activity, communication, getting people supported formally and informally, and educating people. And now we're going to hear a little bit more about a specific bit of work that's been undertaken in Newham. So Steve.
Good morning. Here in Newham, we've been running a healthy lifestyle for longer living project, and that's to improve the physical well-being for those connected to Newham Centre for Mental Health. Over the last 6 months, we've been focusing our efforts on Sapphire Ward, and the aim of having 50% of our service users to achieve 30 minutes of physical activity per day, as this is considered the most effective way of managing and improving your health. We've been using sticker charts to monitor the patient activity levels. And as you can see from our data collection, initially we had a lot of enthusiasm and activity going ahead, and this has now plateaued. So we've got some realistic baseline data. So we've got 11%, just around 11% of our service users doing regular exercise. And now we're in a position for our multidisciplinary team to start considering some change ideas to increase them activity levels. We have actually had some success with our healthy living project. With the help of our dietitian, we've also completely changed the catering menu. So the meals that we serve are far more balanced and nutritious. And now we're actually looking to reduce the amount of sugar and biscuits that's actually served on our wards outside of meal times in collaboration with our service users. On Opal Ward, we've been looking at the health and well-being of staff, and we've been trying to encourage them to actually do more exercise and get the 30 minutes of activity, and also see whether this has any effect on patient outcomes. We've also been running our wellbeing games. So we've got the games going ahead this year again on the 6th of June at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. This is a yearly event we have where staff, service users, friends and families can come and participate in a day of sporting events. This is now in its 4th year. We did start this at Newham Leisure Centre when we did the London 2012 Olympic Games, and that was in celebration of that. So you're welcome to come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Steve. Okay, so we're now going to move on to the next part. Sorry, Steve. and look at the final part of the driver diagram, which is service user and carer engagement. And we have invited some of the service users and staff from the Bridge Club to come and speak to us briefly. So if I can invite Sean, Laura, Dane and Alex to the stage, please. So the Bridge Club was set up in February 2015, and this is a QI project that aims to improve social inclusion, and it runs different activities where service users from Wolfson House or who've been discharged from Wolfson House can come together, form a community, engage in different activities for both their mental health and their physical health. And these activities include football, boxercise, a community cafe session, and they all come together and create a community. I'm just going to hand over to Sean, who's going to tell you a bit more about it.
Yeah, the Bridge Club was, well, it came from talking to service users really who've been discharged and who were really struggling with feeling isolated in the community once they were discharged from hospital. And all of the activities that we've done since we started a year ago, so we run a fortnightly cafe, we have fortnightly football sessions which are run by Sam and Kamar, myself, Diana and Laura run the cafe, and we have weekly boxing sessions which we kind of all take turns with. But in addition to that, we're trying to kind of build a community and a sense of belonging and support people to build and maintain friendships. And we've done some sort of quite daring things, I suppose. For example, in August last year, I think nothing like this had ever been done in forensic services before, but we took our guys to the music festival, the free music festival in Newham, and we were out till midnight. I don't think people had ever been out beyond 8 o'clock. And we were all rocking it to Maxi Priest and Aswaz and Janet Kay, and everybody had a fantastic evening. We also had a Christmas do. Our guys have got lots of ideas about things that they want to do. What we need is funding and capacity in terms of staff. But I think also what's really helped it to work is the guys' enthusiasm. We're constantly being asked by service users, can I come along to this event? So we don't have to do any recruiting, they come to us. And I think that's why every single staff member in the Bridge Club feels totally dedicated to this project.
Thank you. And I wanted to just ask you guys what you think of the Bridge Club as well. So what do you think of the Bridge Club? How have you found it?
Yeah, I think it's very positive because basically like you can, it's good for your health and your fitness and stuff like that. And at the same time, it's fun. So we're doing boxing, same time we're doing football as well during the week. So yeah, it's a good turnout, yeah.
And what about yourself? What activities do you particularly enjoy doing?
Enjoying the football is quite fun. We get together from all the patients from the hospital, patients are in the community, they all get together. And also we get together not just for the football, but also the boxing. And it's been good, it's been really good. I advise everybody to, come and have a look up, just pop in and say hello or anything like that.
Great, thank you guys. And here's just some more feedback that we have received about Bridge Club. So people have found it really good for their health, for their fitness. It's really good to be with their friends. And they've made a thank you for everyone for sponsoring the Bridge Club. So thank you guys for coming along today. So as the guys mentioned, they do boxercise. They do boxercise every Thursday evening. And we have invited their coach to come and run a boxercise session for you guys. So their coach is James Cook, who is a former European and British middle superweight champion. I hope I've got that the right way around. He hung up his gloves in 1994 and has been working with the community. So he's also a champion of his community. He's been working with young people and people with mental health conditions to try and increase fitness and raise awareness and create a space where people can go. And in 2007, he was awarded an MBE. So I'd like to invite James to the stage. James is going to briefly tell you about the boxercise that he does.
Thank you. Is it morning still? Good morning. See, I've been here a long time this morning. You want to know about this bandage? I tell everybody why I wear these bandages. They hardly come off my hand. I've got 4 daughters. Yeah, and since I retire, daughters don't come run to regulars. The boys them don't come run to regular. So my daughters them is pretty upset. You know, just in case, right? Guys, I've been doing boxing from the age of 10, to be quite honest. And so I've been doing it for about 47 years. So that make me what? 57, I like you.
21.
I even like you better now. You need to come up here and do some box exercise. Okay? And fitness, like I said, I know 2 things. Beating up boyfriend and getting fit. I've been fit, you know. Fitness is the key of life, you know. Like I said, I don't too often listen to what government say or what they do, but you know what? Government is speaking about fitness being healthy, yeah. What I like is when somebody's strong enough, you know, to get up, run a management team and say, this is what we want. Like schools is not doing boxing. East London phoned me up and they say, James, can you come and do some stuff for us? Yeah, I've done it. So they employ me more, which I like. You know, I've got grandkids now, so you know what I mean, it's all good, you know. So, you know, but fitness, like I said, fitness is the key of life, you know. Your heart, your lungs, you feel fit, you're good to go, you know. We're gonna do some stuff, you know. The way I wanna do it is, if nobody volunteered to come up and do this stuff or help us out, I will not, just like that bloke from Leicester City, make you all stand up and do some stuff. I'm an Arsenal fan, so this is one of the reasons why I put this bandage on, just in case I want to have to make a comeback today with him, you know? So, yeah, so as anybody want to come up and see what it takes to punch for 3 minutes non-stop, 2 minutes non-stop, or 1 minute non-stop, it's up to you, you tell me. Young lady.
We'll give you time to think about
Young lady.
because we're just going to show you a video quickly first. So we'll give you time to think about it whilst you watch the video of James in action. If nobody volunteers, you're all going to do it.
Boxing is really good, but hard at the same time as well. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, so. But it's good fun at the same time, you know what I mean? You learn the skills and stuff like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go. 1. Keep it on the same leg. 2. Good. 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. Change leg, change arms. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I've been coming since it very first started. I enjoy the actual physical activity, plus being around friends and like getting involved with friends. Yeah, the staff really nice.
Just like to say one thing, thanks for people who are sponsoring the Bridge Club.
Hey, thanks Sean as well.
And thanks Sean over here.
And Laura and Hannah.
And Laura.
Thanks,
And all the people who helped like run it.
I've got to say that, sorry.
And thanks you for James Cook for taking us on and yeah, and his MBA. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Had a cold 8 inch, so not bad for
one more thing. Thanks to the coach as well, he's over there relaxing.
Yes.
Cheers, to the coach as well, yeah?
Cheers, coach.
Yeah. Nice.
Right, so like I said, about fitness, does anybody want to stand up? Try punching for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. The choice is yours. Yeah? Come on in. It's all about the lungs and the heart, okay? Anybody else? Young lady who said I was 57. Because now, when I go out and people say, how old are you? I says, I'm 50 a little bit. Right, anybody else? One to all these muscles I see at the back. The choice is yours. We can think about it. I said, somebody will come up or you all will get up and do it. Okay? There you go, sir. Thank you very much. What we're gonna do, right? You ever done boxing before? Okay, right. Right, punches, okay? I'll show you about punches because I still gotta keep reflexing now because, you know what I mean? When we punch, okay, we're gonna go across. This is the reason why reggae music come into it, yeah? Okay, because it give you that. Yeah, okay, so we punch in, we're going across like this, yeah? Okay? Right, okay. So we're gonna, we're Professor Gunn, who's got the clock. Where is he? There you go, sir. What are you doing at the back there? You got the timing, man. Yeah, we're gonna go 1 minute, yeah? All right, okay. I'll go with you, yeah? For 1 minute non-stop, yeah? Where to go? Yeah. Come on, man. Go quicker than that, man. There you go. Yep. No, okay, keep going. Sorry, said not yet. Don't die on me. Don't die on me. Don't die on me. Don't die on me. Come on, keep going, come on. You're done, man. You're done. There you go. Well done. How you feel? You see what happened? See?
It's a good one.
There you go. See, it's a good. See that heart and lungs? Get going. Thank you very much, sir. Listen, where do you live?
Not far from here.
Okay, there's a hospital run by you. If you're feeling pain tonight and feeling yummy, just go on there for a quick check. So, guys, like I say, whatever you do, no matter how you do it, listen, even if you just listen, you don't have to go to the gym to do something, yeah? Do it in your bedroom, in your kitchen. You're doing something, yeah? Trust me. And you will live to see 57. And a little bit more, yeah? Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you to James. So we also have some physical health work taking place across the world. So I'm now going to introduce Olivia Carmichael, who's going to talk a bit about Beauty Beaker Link.
Thank you. And yes, thank you for inviting us to talk a little bit about our global health programs as well as our programs in East London. So I've been coordinating the link for the last 3 years, but last year we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And so we have a partnership with Beauty Beaker Hospital in Kampala, which is the national mental health referral hospital in Uganda. And we still have many projects going on today. We have 3 large funded projects by DFID. And like the East London activity, we wanted to support some physical health training in Uganda. People who have serious mental health problems have suffer with serious physical health problems. The rates are higher in Uganda as well as in the UK. So we got together with the Ugandan Diaspora Foundation and we've commissioned a couple of projects. One which was led by Kate Corlett and Rachel Kemp from within the Trust, offering some physical health training to the staff at the hospital and looking at non-communicable diseases which are on the rise in Uganda. And we also had a project to start a football initiative. So we've partnered with professional teams in Uganda to run football schemes with the staff and the service users at the hospital. So not only kind of raising healthy awareness and around physical health, but also doing something to work on the stigma around mental health in Uganda. So I just wanted to highlight that really and talk about how not only are we having international recognition for the projects going on in East London, but also that we're doing projects internationally as well. So thank you.
Okay, so the first part of the session, we've looked at the physical health work we're doing in the quality improvement team. We've given you guys an opportunity to experience some of the interventions that are available for our service users, and we've invited James, who's come along to do our session. I'm now going to hand over to Jen Taylor-Watt, one of the QI leads, who's going to lead the panel question.
Thanks very much, Emma. So yeah, as Emma says, I'm one of the QI leads in the QI team, and I'm going to be hosting this session today with members of our leadership team from across the Trust. So if I can invite them to the stage, we have Professor Jonathan Warren and Dr. Paul Galuli, Paul Binfield, Dr. Navina Evans, and Dr. David Bridle. And to introduce them properly, Dr. Navina Evans is our Deputy Chief Executive, Professor Jonathan Warren is our Director of Nursing, Dr. Paul Galuli, Head of Forensic Services, Dr. David Bridle is our Clinical Director for City and Hackney Mental Health, and Paul is our Senior People Participation Lead. Lord Paul Binfield for this session, this time only. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so for the sake of time today, we have had some questions sent in advance, which we're going to run through. But if you have any questions that you would like answered, you can pose them on Slido via the code we talked about in the beginning. Okay, so first question for the panel. Might be nice to start on a positive note, I think. Jonathan, would you like to reflect on some of the main successes you feel we've had with the QI program in the first 2 years?
Thanks, Jen. I guess I just want to talk about two things, really. Firstly is the individual projects in themselves. As Jason was very eloquently talked about this morning, at the end of graphs, at the end of figures, at the end of celebrations are always patients or our staff. And just seeing some of the work that you guys have been doing around reducing violence, around increasing access, around increasing the physical health of some of our patients, are individuals who are benefiting from that. And I guess that is just fantastic and just makes me smile and feel very humble every time that I see that. Seeing Caroline Dow's out of the corner of my eye there, the work that they do around pressure ulcers. So there's that graph where you saw the reduction in pressure ulcers at grade 2. They are real people not getting pressure ulcers. Not only are they not suffering, but we are saving money in doing that. And Caroline could give you an exact figure of how much you would save for every grade 2 pressure ulcer. I guess the other thing that's given me great pleasure really has been watching our staff grow and be able to sort of feel that they can make changes in their teams and think about how they can do that. That, of course, has required us to behave differently to allow you to do that. And that's, you know, we're constantly learning about how we can create those environments that allow you guys to thrive and the milieu that allows you to make those changes that are so important to our patients. So I guess they're the two things that I wanted to say, Jen.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, maybe perhaps over to the flip side then. We know work like this does come with challenges. So Navina, could you reflect on some of the main challenges you feel we've faced with the work we've been doing on QI over the past 2 years, and also some of our strategies for tackling those challenges?
So this work hasn't been easy. And I think that there have been a number of challenges, and I'll just pick 2 or 3 of them. Initially, when we talked earlier about building the will, and I think a lot of people, myself included, when this work started, just a bit sort of skeptical about it, really. You know, here it is, another initiative. We all talk about improvement. Is this really going to make a difference? Is it going to be something that will, you know, big bang start and then fade away? And I'm really pleased to see that people have put so much effort. It's really caught on. And that's the only way, really, is when, you know, frontline staff think it's worth it. They tell other people about it, and it catches on in that way. So that was a challenge. It still continues to be a challenge, and we're now launching in Bedfordshire and Luton. So there's, you know, we need to make sure that our colleagues there really can be liberated to do this sort of work. The other is that I think increasingly there's a lot more pressure, external pressure, the sort of all the worries about money in the NHS and incidents and targets and things like that, that we mustn't be derailed by that, because actually some of the answers to those problems are within the sort of quality improvement work that we do. I've heard a lot of people, when I talk to them, talk about not having enough time. I don't have the answers and I don't quite know what the solutions are, but I think we need to focus as a sort of whole community, staff and patients and carers, about how we embed this in our day-to-day work so that it doesn't feel like it's another piece of work on top of what we have to do, because it should become part of what we do. Now that, I think, is our next challenge going forward, and that will be our struggle. But I think that there is a way of doing that, and that's what we need to do.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I guess sort of connected to some of those sort of thoughts and ideas. David, you're a clinical director in City and Hackney services. In your role, I suppose you come up against this challenge quite a lot. How do you go about engaging and influencing staff who might be perceiving QI as just the next initiative, just the phase that we're going through?
Yeah, it's certainly something we do encounter. I guess there are two bits to my answer to this. One bit is about kind of what I talk about with individuals who have that perspective, and the other is a more general comment about an approach around that. So I really think that the important starting point is to validate that perspective. It's a very realistic perspective, and it's a very understandable perspective. There have been lots of initiatives that come through all of the time, and so it's very valid to think that, is this yet another initiative? And the reality is we don't know what the future holds. I don't know what will come from integrated care organisations or devolution, and how that might potentially derail even very good things that are going on in trusts. So I think it's a valid perspective. However, moving on from that, I think it's really important to link back the principles that are embedded within QI to the values of the individuals. And I think that with the methodology we've got and the way in which it works does very well in terms of aligning with what most of our staff are interested in and what they think is the right way of doing things. And so as an example of that, it would be things like really embedded at the heart of it and at the core of it is really about meaningfully engaging frontline staff to kind of be involved in decision making and influencing the kind of changes that are put in place in their own services, allowing staff to be innovative and come up with new ideas and new ways of doing things, allowing people to do things and for those things not to work out as was hoped, and for that to be fine and to be a good thing. And also being able to kind of have the evidence about what impact the changes are making. So all those kinds of principles that really are at the heart of QI are really kind of valuable kind of links to, I think, the values that most of our staff held. And so I'd link it back in that kind of way to kind of think about, we're going to anyway have to have some kind of mechanism of change. And if it's one that kind of aligns with your values and how you see things, then you want to make that kind of mechanism of change work and succeed. So you want to kind of make the most of this rather than going to something different that may not quite align in the same way. On a more general point, I'd say that in reality, we just need to get on and do it and not be unduly influenced or preoccupied with people who are not interested and not engaged with it. So it is about getting on and working with the people who are interested, who are engaged, and in essence, working with what we call the so-called early adopters and kind of making the changes, embedding the QI, getting the success from it, and with that, influencing people through seeing what it does, so the kind of majority follow in light of kind of what they see actually happening. And so our emphasis in City and Hackney is very much about just getting on and doing it, trying to embed it in the different meetings, forums, etc., trying to make sure that where we're thinking about a difficult problem and trying to think about how we're going to tackle it, that QI is part of that thinking. So it really becomes part and parcel and more normal business within what we're doing. And I think it's kind of seeing the impact of it that really will make the difference and have the more powerful influence to get people engaged and interested in kind of working with that.
Thank you. A question we've just had come in, which connects with what we're talking about. So helpful to pick up now, I think. Audience members interested to know, how does the Trust intend to reward their frontline staff, besides their monthly wages, for working so hard to sustain quality despite the ongoing challenges? Anyone got some thoughts on that?
Do you want to start? I think being part of this work is rewarding in itself. I think a lot of our staff actually gain a huge amount for seeing the improvements they make in patients' lives and the quality of care they deliver. And that in itself is a reward itself.
We were last week talking about reward generally with some of our directors. We'd like to hear more from our staff about what kind of things helps you to feel appreciated, and helps us to feel appreciated as well. And I think reward or recognition is really very important. I'm not sure we do enough with our patients and service users and carers to kind of harness their input and their feedback, which is actually, I think, really rewarding. What I've seen is when the number of times I get emails or scanned copies of a card or a letter that somebody has received, and sharing that is really powerful. So I think there are lots and lots of ideas out there. I don't think we do enough about recognition. And so, yeah, that could be something that we should be looking into.
It is a bit ironic, as a trust, we've got a reward and recognition policy that covers all the service user and carer involvement, but it doesn't cover staff. So I think that tells us a great deal.
Thank you. Lots of thoughts there, and a challenge back to us actually to come up with some thoughts to share with the leadership team, in fact, to build on what we're already doing. Okay. We've talked about this issue a bit already today with Jason, in terms of some of the financial challenges that we're all facing. Paul, perhaps as a leader of forensic services, do you see QI helping with the financial challenges and the financial environment? And if so, how? And I guess as a second point, have you seen any benefits already within forensics from QI in terms of financial?
I kind of said this to the last group, and I'll repeat it here. It is a bit kind of a cultural stereotype that when you come to talk about money, you always come to talk to the Scotsman. So Jason got it this morning, and then I'm getting it the second time in this way round. But actually, having thought about it, actually, I think it's more a compliment than it is an insult, because it's not necessarily we're tight with money, but actually we're canny with money. We spend money very well. And I think that's an important factor that we have to think about at the minute. Where, to be honest, it is an austere time, and it is quite difficult. But there's this assumption, and it's a very simple assumption, that the only way you can improve healthcare is by throwing money at it. And actually, that isn't the case. There are lots of other ways we can improve the quality of care for service users without necessarily adding to the cost. And I think we have to think about that. Jason mentioned this morning about reducing waste. And I think we all know within our own areas of work, there are ways that we could reduce the waste we have. Working more efficiently and looking at how we can work more efficiently is a major way in moving forward and improving quality. QI, for me, gives us a structure that allows us to improve our efficiency and improve our quality of care. It gives us a way of actually benchmarking what service we provide and how we can more efficiently provide that by making changes. So I think for me, QI is really important in how we move forward. I think within forensic, we're still in the early stages. I don't think we've got anything at the minute that I can come to you and I can say, well, we've shown that we've improved financially by doing some of these QI projects. But I think anecdotally, there's a couple of things coming up within forensic that are already starting to perk up my interest. I'm thinking it may be something we want to look into a wee bit more and look into the financial modelling. So you heard a little bit this morning about the QI project in Clerkenwell Ward. Clerkenwell ward is our low secure learning disability ward for men, and where through QI there's been a violence reduction programme in place which has reduced the violent incidents by 48%. That's quite a massive difference. What we're also seeing in two of our other wards, Westferry ward, which is our male medium secure intensive care unit, and Shoreditch ward, which is our male medium secure learning disability unit, we're also seeing different QI projects on violence reduction happening in those wards, and again seeing really good results, different ideas and different kind of a change ideas, but really good results in seeing that violence reduction. The interesting thing that I'm seeing at the same time is our sickness rates in our staff are reducing. My sickness rate at the minute for this month is the lowest sickness rate that we've had in forensic for the past 3 years. So actually, I think there's a possible association there we're having between our violent incidents and staff being off sick, and our violent incidents leading to staff feeling that they don't want to come into work and being off sick as well. So I think we've got some association there where we can start to see that actually improving staff feeling that they're part of something and improving the quality of care on wards make them more eager to come into work, and we're getting less sickness reduction. And through that, we've got less bank usage. Through that, we're saving money. So actually, I think there's some stuff there we're starting to look at and financially model, which I think will be quite useful in the future.
Fantastic, thanks, Paul. Yeah, and I suppose this is one of the key areas where the teams on the ground need to be really supported by our central functions to, do this kind of modelling and analysis. And thankfully, colleagues in finance are hugely supportive, and we're looking at this cost cases across a number of our high priority projects where we can see that there is particularly potential benefit there with QI team supporting. Lovely, thank you. Okay. So I guess the next question is one for Paul. We've talked about service user involvement already today, the fact we've come a long way, we've done well, but actually we've got a bit of a way to go. So yeah, what could you talk about sort of some of our strategies and plans to increase the levels of service user and carer involvement in QI?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we have come a long way, but we've got a long way to go with this. So I think if anyone wants to look on the QI microsite, we've put a lot of resource on there around, we've put a job description on there or a role description that anyone who's starting a QI project really needs to think about how they involve a service user and carer and how much time that would be and what the tasks are. And we had a meeting yesterday with the service user and carer steering group around how we advertise those. So it's almost like you're advertising for people to come and work on your QI projects. But also then the reverse can happen, that we're looking at service users and carers who want to fill one of those out and more or less advertise themselves for their skills. This is what I'm good at, and we can match them up to a project like that. I think we've got a couple of areas that we need to think about seriously. I think we need to think about carers' involvement in QI. I think it's somewhat just by the nature of a carer's day, they're often caring, they've often got less time. So we probably need to think a bit smarter and quicker about how we can get carers involved in quality improvement. I also think we all need your help. I think one of the main things that we're struggling with now is we've got so many service users and carers and patients who get involved in stuff, but we need more. So it's about you guys thinking about the people that you're working with, linking them in with people participation teams so that then we can support them to get involved. I think we just need to get a critical mass of people who are willing to get involved, who then can support some of the projects. Because some of the difficulties we're having is there's great motivation and enthusiasm from a lot of the projects and the teams, but they're not quite sure about how to do it. So we can support them with that. But what we're finding on our end is that we're sort of using the sort of people that we've got already quite a lot. So we just need to think about how we can get more and more people involved, especially if it's a project in your team. How can I get the people who use my service involved in this project? I think that's the easiest way, and we can support you with that. So I think ultimately we're doing really well, but I think we just need to expand that out now and get more people involved.
Lovely. Thanks, Paul. Navina, I think this one might be one for you. As an organisation that is embracing continuous improvement, what role does QI have in actually helping our staff feel valued and feel joy and happiness in their work?
Okay, I think that this is timely. QI is the right time for us now to be thinking about this, partly because externally things are getting much more difficult in the NHS. There's a lot more pressure, and we see a lot of evidence of people feeling that things are very difficult. So there needs to be hope for us. I'm amazed really every day when I meet people that who work in this organisation, who are so dedicated, committed, motivated to work for patients, service users, carers. And that's really at the heart of QI. It's simple, it's common sense. And one of the best things about it, I think, is that it actually talks a lot about looking after staff through QI, but also it talks about, well, joy at work. And for me, having fun at work is really, really important. I have to go home every day and think I've had quite a lot of fun today, and that is, I'm sorry, but that is how I feel, and I think it is possible. And QI has allowed us to do this, actually, because I think for a long time I used to keep this a secret, that I had fun at work, because you feel that, you know, if you say that somehow you're not taking people's suffering seriously, or or the job seriously. But actually it's so important, because if you're not happy and you're not enjoying yourself, then it's really difficult, and this gives us that permission, if you like. It also means that as an organization we have to think about the culture, and that then means that we have to think about staff well-being, the conditions to make QI work. So whenever we hear about barriers or problems, it's usually something to do with the systems, or something to do with the conditions. That means that we have to confront those to release them, otherwise the projects won't work. So it feels like it's just the right time, really, to take us as an organization to that other level.
Great, thank you. Some of our questions that have come through from you in the course of the morning, connected with some of the stuff we've already been talking about, but audience members interested in, back in the day when we got going, did we actually stop doing anything to allow QI work to happen? Did we do anything to carve out that space for people?
We tried to stop doing lots of things. So if you remember, we cut the audit program in half, if memory serves me right. Navina, you ran a competition, didn't you, of what was it called? Remind me. Activity of lower value, and we chose 2 or 3 of those things that we stopped doing. What else did we stop doing? They're the 2 off the top of my head.
I'll tell you what they stopped doing, and I can say this as someone who's not an executive. They stopped issuing orders from the top and started to listen from the bottom. So I think that's the first thing that they stopped doing.
I think one of the things that we asked people to do as well was look in their own teams and services as to what they felt they could stop doing, and I think I'd be quite interested to hear now, after 2 years on, what people have come back with. And I know lots of teams have done different things, and interestingly, somebody suggested we stop doing CPA, but actually when you sat down and thought about it, it actually helped people to think about the value of CPA and how we actually needed to do it better and differently, and so things that were frustrating people, that also enabled them to think about how they could do them better or differently.
Fantastic, thank you. Someone's been reflecting on some of what Jason was saying this morning, and are interested in, are we as a trust actually doing anything to influence policy and politics locally, regionally and nationally around some of these ideas?
Well, I think that Kevin and Amar and our QI team have been very involved. We have been meeting with other organisations, other trusts have come to talk with us, and through the IHI and through the network there, We've done quite a lot of work locally, because we're involved in integrated care in all of our local boroughs. We've had an opportunity to bring this work to a wider audience. Our commissioners are very interested in quality improvement, and actually many of our commissioners have also been part of the learning and the training, and probably are here. So there's a lot of ways that we can have taken this and influenced it. So there are many different opportunities. Marie, of course, our chair, takes every opportunity that as I can see it, to talk about quality improvement in the wider network. So there are lots of ways in which you can do that.
The other thing Paul and I have been trying to do, Paul and I both work 1 day a week at the CQC as advisors to them. And as we will find out in June when they visit us, the CQC are a very assurance-based sort of system, and we've been talking to them a lot about how they can think about improvement as well as just assurance in their inspections. We're having limited success, but we keep fighting on that front rather a lot. And just to reinforce some stuff that Navina said, that we're having an awful lot of interest from other trusts. So Oxford are coming down to see us next week, spend the afternoon with us. Amar, I know, hosts loads and loads of trusts every month. He has an open day where people come and see some of the work that you guys are doing. So there's a lot of work that we try and do around influencing policy. I think Jason challenged us to do more, and I think that's a fair challenge, really.
Lovely, thank you. Someone had a question about the IHI. We've mentioned the IHI a number of times this morning, but people are interested in actually what is the relationship, what is their involvement in our program, and sort of how and why and what are the cost implications of that?
I can start. I don't know the cost implications, actually, so I can't answer that bit of the question. Why we chose the IHI? Well, we felt very clearly we needed some external support to deliver the program. We didn't think we could do what we wanted to do ourselves. So we followed the procurement that we have to go with NHS, and we advertised we wanted a partner. A number of us went to see a number of our colleagues who had done some of the work. So we went to see NHS Scotland, we went to see Tees Escombe Weir, we went and saw Salford Royal and other organisations that were doing similar work. And I think during the procurement process, we felt the IHI shared our values, really. Again, when you work with the IHI, they talk a lot about patients, putting patients at the heart of what we do, about all work really being around improving patient and patient care. So I guess they really sort of touched our values and what we felt the values of the organisation were. In terms of the role they play with us, so you see them, many of you have done the course with Bob Lloyd and others doing the improving science in action. They also help us as leaders really to think about how our behaviour influences our staff and how we can create, as I said earlier, that milieu that allows people to thrive. And they can be very challenging to the likes of Navina and myself and Mason and others in how we behave and our actions and what we pay attention to. So I don't know, Navina or Paul, if anyone.
I think we felt it was really important to have external experts who scrutinize what we do, challenge, and also help to keep us on track. And so far, that is exactly what they've done. In terms of the finances, I don't exactly know what the cost of it was, but we were talking earlier about we're now beginning to start to try and put in cost terms what the benefits have been of the work that we're doing in terms of the projects and the programs. And I think in due course, it's a fair challenge that we should be able to lay out what this program has actually cost and what we think the benefits have been, again, in financial terms. I think that's a, I'm not sure, maybe next year we might be able to make an attempt to look at that, because I think 3 or 4 years down the line that should be possible to start.
I think there's two things that IHA have bought. I think Jason talked about it this morning in his talk, was that the NHS traditionally don't promote themselves well around what they're doing. So that gives us an opportunity nationally and internationally to promote this work. I also think what it does, and it links us in with partner organisations, so that we've got our colleagues from Scotland down today. You know, we've got colleagues in Denmark and Kaiser Permanente, who we had the video from. So it's also linking us up with organisations who are doing a similar journey, so we can share what we're doing well, what we're not doing. We can sort of learn from each other's mistakes. So I think that brings a lot of value to the process as well.
Lovely, thank you very much. We've got time for just one more question. Oh, okay. Apparently we don't have time for one more question, everybody. I'm sorry. So we're actually just going to wait now for the group in, yes, for the other group to join us for a final group altogether. If you could help us out by, if you're happy to just file round so that we can fill up the seats down this end, so that the incoming group can sit on this side, that would help us enormously. Thank you very much.
So, as many of you may already be aware, we have invited project leads and project teams to create a poster for their project that they've been running. And we've opened up a competition, and people have been available on our microsite to vote for the poster that they think should win. And we're going to announce the winner, and we would like them to come and collect their certificate. And their prizes, they win a meal of their choice for their project team. So the winner of the poster competition is the disciplinary process. So if a member of the team could please come to the stage to collect your certificate, that would be fantastic. Do we have any of the team here? Here we go. Another round of applause. Congratulations. Okay, I would now like to invite Dr. Robert Dolan, our Chief Executive, and Dr. Kevin Cleary, our Medical Director, to the stage, please.
I understand I'm the warm-up act for Dr. Cleary, so I'll say very little. First of all, it's great to see so many people here, so many people from the Trust, but also so many people from outside. I think that the quality improvement program is hugely important for us. It got us to a place where we, as a trust, regard kind of quality as our strategy, and the quality improvement program as kind of the main driver for that. We've had now more than 2 great years of development, I think, where all kinds of projects have taken off. Vast numbers of people, many of you here, have been involved, but already have been making major impact on kind of on the workings of the trust and kind of the clinical services we provide. That it's very evident that people are enthused, people are involved, and that the program has been a great boon to us, but also a great way of bringing the staff and management together in doing something that really is hugely important for all of the people we serve, all of the service users we serve. So it's really great. I think it's kind of 2 years on. It's kind of marvelous that kind of things have moved so quickly and so well. And again, it's testimony to a lot of people in this room that that's happened. So again, I congratulate you, and I'm delighted that kind of the trust has been part of something so wonderful. So with that, I'll pass over to Dr. Cleary.
Thank you very much, Robert. The first thing that I would like to say is that when we started this work just over 2 years ago, I never really imagined that we would have had the success that we have had so quickly, that our staff would become involved so enthusiastically, and that it would actually have such an impact upon the quality of the care that we provide for our patients, service users, and carers, because it's for them that we're doing this work. I've been working in the NHS now for 30 years, and I started off in mental health in East London. And things have changed dramatically over that time, for the better, I have to say. We take much better care of our patients and service users now than we did 30 years ago. We have a completely different attitude to how we engage with patients. But I think over the last 2 years, things have sort of dramatically changed and changed for the better. Geraldine Strathdy, who's the National Clinical Director for Mental Health, said to me last week that one of the things that she thought was really important was communication, and she felt that mental health trusts were really bad at it. And actually, Jason mentioned this again this morning. So one of the things I think we have discovered is how to communicate, and how to communicate more effectively and differently. A move away from the belief that there are two forms of communication. One is just simply sort of talking to people, and the other is sending an email. Emails are not a way to engage our staff and patients in the work that we're doing. And we've had to think really creatively and different about how we communicate. And the QI team have really shown us, I think, as an organisation, how you can approach communication in a very different way. The second thing which I think has changed for us culturally as an organisation is that we are less frightened of innovation than we were before. It is the easiest thing in the world to do things as you have always done them. It's a comfortable way of doing things. It's a comfortable place to be. But if we don't innovate, we can't change and we can't improve. And I think I have noticed a really big change in attitude towards innovation for us as an organisation. And the last thing I think which has changed for us is we've learnt how to collaborate with each other. When you have 100, 200 teams across an organisation of 5,000 staff, it can be difficult to maintain a spirit of collaboration. And this sort of work only works if you're able to collaborate. You have to be able to work collaboratively with the other teams, with the other wards in your area. And that's something you really have to work at. You have to learn how to do it. We feel very comfortable working within our own team, but actually working with another team can be quite difficult and challenging. And I think that is something that has really changed, because if you want to spread quality improvement across an organisation, you really have to learn how to collaborate with your fellow workers and with patients and service users. So I would really like to thank our staff for being so inspiring, for working so hard at this, and for making it a success. So I'm going to move on now. We're going to hear from two people. We're going to hear from Derek Feely, who's the Chief Executive of IHI and who was formerly Chief Executive of NHS Scotland, and Bob Lloyd, who works at IHI, a Vice President there, and many of you will have seen from our teaching sessions. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone, it's Derek Feely from IHI, speaking to you from IHI's National Forum in Orlando, Florida. You're gathered at your big event of the year, your annual conference. And I just wanted to take 1 minute to reflect with you on the journey that you're taking and the work that we're doing together. I'm so impressed by everything I see. When me and my colleagues visited you, the sense of progress that you were making was palpable. You're setting a new path for the organisation, and everyone is looking at what you in East London are doing and are so impressed by the changes that you're making, by the improvements that you're seeing, by the results that you're generating. And the really impressive thing for me when I last visited you was to see the progress from boardroom to the point of care. Everybody committed to improving care for your patients, everybody committed to improving the health of the population that you serve. A huge commitment that is, I think, second to none in the country. So congratulations to you. We are looking forward so much to continuing to work with you. You're going to host a group of strategic partners from IHI in June in London. Thank you for your gracious hospitality on that front. The summer camp is always a treat. You'll get to meet some of the top performing healthcare systems from right across the world. They will be hugely impressed by what you're achieving in East London. Thank you very much for continuing to be one of IHI's strategic partners. Thank you for all the work that you're doing for people in East London, and have a great conference.
Hello, this is Bob Lloyd from the IHI. Thanks for inviting me to your conference today. I appreciate the opportunity to once again be with you. Sorry I can't be there in person. I just wanted to take a moment and reflect on our work in building capacity and capability for quality improvement throughout the Trust. You know, now we've had 3 improvement science and action programs. We've done a session for the board. We've had 2 site visits that we just finished up the second one last month. And during those times, we've been working on helping you improve your personal skills and knowledge, and also organizationally. So we've been thinking about the care that is delivered at the bedside, in the office, in the facilities, as well as what is the care that's being delivered throughout the system, and what are the system components that we're really working on. It takes everyone throughout the system, from the top of the organization down to the frontline workers where work actually gets delivered, to make quality part of a sustaining aspect of one organization. And East London Foundation Trust has been marvelous in the way you've set up the structures, the processes, and the culture that drive the outcomes that we're seeking. So this day is really a culmination of both education, celebration, and inspiration. And I thank you for all your time. I greatly appreciate the honor of having the chance to work with you on a regular and ongoing basis. And I sincerely look forward to our next visit. Have a good day. Congratulations. Well done.
Hello, everyone. So, hello. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Professor Michael West to you. Michael is here to talk to us about leadership for quality healthcare, about delivery of compassionate care. He works with the King's Fund at the moment. He's a professor at Lancaster University. Is that right, Michael? He's always very interesting to listen to. Always has very thought-provoking things to say. So, as with the previous speaker, if you have any questions you'd like to pose to Michael, use the Slido app, and there'll be time at the end of his presentation for me to put them to him. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll hand you over to Michael.
Do I need one of these Beyonce things, or I'm all right? Okay. So, hello, and it's such a privilege to come and speak at in this organization, because you're doing so much, which is such a great example to health services across the country. I have the privilege of being involved in learning about health services in this country, and it all seems very complicated and at times very pressurizing and fairly scary. And so I keep kind of trying to reflect on what is it all about. And I kind of think that fundamentally, when the health service in this country was set up, it was set up because we had a national value that was really important to us as a nation, and we still hold it really dear, and that's the value of compassion, that we care about providing care for people who need it. We care about enabling people to be the best that they can be. And all of the people who work in East London Foundation Trust at some point in their lives made a decision to dedicate an enormous part of their precious lives overall to caring for their fellow human being. Around 80,000 hours on average of their precious lives to caring for their fellow human being. And that's a really profound and important value. And so I think when it all gets very complicated, it's about stepping back and saying what we need to do is create conditions where the people who work in East London Foundation Trusts can do what it is they most want to do, and that is to provide high quality care for patients and service users and carers in this community. It's how can we create the conditions that enable them best to do that? How can we create the conditions to ensure that there's continually improving care? And how can we create the conditions to ensure that the care is compassionate? And that, I think, is the leadership challenge that faces actually everybody who works in the organization. What can I do on a day-to-day basis that will create the conditions for everyone I work with to provide that high quality, continually improving and compassionate care? So I think that there are 6 things that emerge from all of the research that we've been doing that are really important for us to focus on. And we have some slides. And I want to talk very briefly about each of those. The first is that it's really important that we hold on to the vision of what this is all about, because it all gets so complicated. There are policy documents. There are things called 5-year forward views. There's the press, who I've come to think of as rather like ambulance chasers, you know, like this, the lawyers who chase ambulances, the press chase ambulances to put in the paper stories about when things go wrong. So it's really important, I think, we hold on to a vision of what this work is all about. It's about, for our fellow human beings, providing continually improving high quality and compassionate care. And I think it's really important that each of us holds that vision each day in our work, because otherwise we can get so overwhelmed by all of the stuff that goes on. But it's coming back to what is it about? What am I here to do? And holding on to that as a personal vision, as well as that being a vision and value of the organization as a whole. So we need everybody from the board to people right across the organization, I think, holding on to that vision. The second is the real importance of translating vision into clear goals and objectives. So what we see in the NHS is people being overwhelmed by priorities. Everyone's setting priorities, whether it's NHS England or the regulators or boards or directorates. Everyone's creating priorities. And often the people who are delivering care or providing services in finance or HR are overwhelmed by all these priorities. And it's really important that we clarify what are the few really key objectives that we need to be pursuing, including objectives around quality improvement. And we make sure that also we are gathering data not to feed the beast of the regulators and CQC, but gathering data which helps people do their jobs better, so they can learn about the quality of care that's being provided, the level of compassion, the extent to which we're continually improving care. So I think it's everyone's responsibility to ensure that they have just a few clear, challenging, inspiring objectives, and it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that they're getting the information and the data that tells them how they can improve their work. That's what quality improvement is really all about. And we have to, I think, as communities in organizations, really make sure that we are challenging this proliferation of priorities and objectives and focus on the few key things that are really important, including quality improvement. The third is, I can summarize the third point by saying, if we want staff in our organizations to treat patients and service users and carers with respect and care and compassion and dignity, then we need to treat staff with respect and care and compassion and dignity. Actually, we need to treat each other with respect and care and compassion and dignity. That's how we create cultures of compassion and caring. So I keep using this word compassion. It's one of those words you can't disagree. You can't disagree with? What does it mean? So Mason. So if you're in distress and I'm going to be compassionate, I think what compassion means is that I pay attention to you, that I'm here and now, I'm present with you, with your distress. Second is that I then make some kind of come to some intelligent understanding of what the causes of your distress are, ideally in conversation with you. And the third is that I have an empathic response, that I feel your distress at some level. And the fourth is that I then take intelligent action to help you. That makes sense? Compassion. So if we want to create cultures of compassion within which quality improvement will be really effective, then it's about paying attention to each other, being here and now with each other and with patients and service users, understanding the situation that they face, having an empathic response, and taking intelligent action to help. So we need to create the conditions in our organizations where compassion is the way we do things around here in all of our relationships. And we have a lot of evidence about the links between how staff feel and the quality of care that patients experience, and between what staff say about their leaders and what patients say about the quality of care that they have. They're very direct associations, and we've demonstrated them very clearly in all of the data that we have. So it is really important that we create conditions where all of the staff in the organization flourish, where they feel valued, where they feel cared for. That's how we create cultures of compassion and respect and positivity. When I see the high levels of stress across the NHS, it really grieves me in two ways. One is because I know that the more stressed staff are, the lower the levels of compassion that they're able to communicate, to express to the people that they care for. Second, we know that the more stressed staff are over time, the more damage we're doing to the physical and mental health of the people who are delivering care in the NHS. And that's unacceptable. So it's really important that, it's really important, particularly in terms of QI, that it's not just about the QI techniques, it's about the culture we create. It's about a culture of caring and compassion in all relationships, not just in the relationships towards patients and service and users and staff. Does that make sense? And when we get it right, we know that staff are much more engaged. What is engagement? Staff engagement. Everyone talks about staff engagement being important, and it is important because it's the best predictor in the National Staff Survey of a range of outcomes in mental health, learning disability trusts, in the acute sector, and so on. But what does engagement mean? The man who devised the concept said, to understand engagement, imagine an actor coming to perform on the stage on a Saturday night in the Almeida or wherever. Engagement is the extent to which she brings of her life experience to the performance of the role, her courage, her compassion, her emotional intelligence to the performance of the role. So when we talk about engagement, we're talking about of staff, we're talking about the extent to which staff bring of themselves, of their humanity, their compassion, their courage to the delivery of care to patients and service users and carers. So it's really important when we think about engagement that we don't just see it as a kind of abstract term. It's about people bringing of themselves to their work every day in the NHS. And we know that engagement is a really important predictor of outcomes, and we know some of the factors that are associated with high levels of engagement. It's in organizations, in trusts where there's a really strong vision around high quality care that's embodied by everybody rather than just being a bunch of words on the website. It's places where organizations have really transformed the way that they lead. So there's much more participative, supportive, compassionate leadership rather than directive hierarchical leadership. It's places that have done really great things around quality improvement in enabling the staff to do quality improvement, like East London Foundation Trust and Salford and Wrightington, Wigan and Lee and the lovely Northumbria. It's places where people are enabled to do what they want to do, which is to improve the quality of care that they're providing to the people they care about in their communities. And the fourth is, these are organizations where there's a very high level of trust, where, for example, issues of discrimination against Black and minority ethnic group staff are not so profound as they are across the whole of the NHS, where issues of fairness and discrimination are being dealt dealt with, so there's much more of a sense of fairness and therefore trust. And we know that trust is what really predicts engagement. And there are organizations where there has been relatively stable senior leadership. So you can't allow Robert to retire. You're going to have to shackle him down. And what does it look like? So Wrightington, Wigan and Lee has done lots of work around quality improvement and staff engagement. And I was at a meeting of their engagement committee about 15 months ago when they kept talking about the horse, and I didn't really understand. So I said, well, what's all of this about a horse? And they said, well, there was a lady, sadly, a few hours from death on the palliative care ward. Some of you will know this story. And one of the staff asked her, is there anything we can do in these last hours? And she said, well, I'd like to see Bronwyn. Who's Bronwyn? Bronwyn was the horse I raised over a 25-year period when I worked in the stables at Haydock Park. So the nursing staff got together and called the family and asked them, could they bring Bronwyn in a horse box? And they said yes, and they wheeled the patient out on a trolley into the car park. And the horse recognized the lady and walked over and nuzzled her and kissed her. And it made, and somebody took the photograph and it was seen by 5 million people around the world. And it was an example of what quality improvement means in practice. And it's the kind of thing that happens every day in NHS organizations and every day in this organization. And it's what quality improvement means. It means high quality care. It means compassionate care. It means continually improving care. And it's also, so it's about how we enable that in practice. It's not, you know, it's about the culture that we all create within our caring organizations. Remember, compassion is at the core. And the last thing to say about this issue of people management is we need to create positive environments. Healthcare, by its nature, is a place where there is suffering and pain and hurt and fear and anguish. We need to manage our organizations. Each of us needs to take responsibility for managing our organizations, so we add to the pool of positive emotion, not unnecessarily adding to the pool of negative emotion. By showing gratitude, by showing appreciation, by being warm, by being optimistic where appropriate, by using humor to communicate, so that we create an environment where people do feel positive, because that's good for our health, good for our ability to be compassionate, good for our ability to be innovative and creative, Kevin. And so it's really important that we do that. And that we also confront behaviors that are aggressive or intimidating and unpleasant, because those are as dangerous to patient care as medication errors. If I'm afraid to challenge somebody because he or she is intimidating, then it makes care much more dangerous, it makes the context much more dangerous. And the fourth is the importance of having an environment where learning and innovation and quality improvement are the norm. And the work being done at East London Foundation Trust is a beacon across the country that many people look to. But it's really important, I think, that that process is seen as continuous, that we make that the culture of the organization as a whole. And finally, this has already been mentioned, the importance of team working. We know that team working is fundamental to high quality care, and that there's an enormous amount of work to do to improve the quality of team working in NHS organizations. Team working is how quality improvement happens. It's through teams that quality improvement happens. So we have to continue to build strong team working, and for all of us to take responsibility for the teams we work in, to make sure that they have a clear direction, that they're working effectively, that we're communicating effectively together, not just by email, but face-to-face, because that's where the best human communication happens, and where we model in teams listening and valuing every person's contribution, no matter what their professional background, their ethnic background, their sexuality. We listen to everybody and value them equally, so that we create the best possible outcomes that we can for those we serve. And I would really want to also emphasize, in these busy organizations we work in, the fundamental importance of being still. We work so hard, we're so busy, and when the pressure gets higher, we seem to think that if we spin the hamster wheel faster, we will do better. But actually all the evidence we have is that teams that take time out on a regular basis to stop, reflect, what are we trying to achieve here? How are we going about it? Are much, much, much more productive and much more innovative than teams that don't do that. Be still, reflect, peace. It's about the kind of thoughtful environment and reflective environment that we create. And finally, it's about creating collective leadership. I've kind of implied this. We are all leaders. We need to move away from hierarchical command and control to everybody taking leadership responsibility in the organization. And I'm very proud of the fact that at NHS Improvement, we're working with East London Foundation Trust as one of the pioneer organizations in the country to develop leadership strategies to implement collective leadership across the organization, so that we really begin to create the kind of cultures that will make a profound difference for the people that we serve. So I want to finish by saying one thing, and that is I've talked about compassion all the way through, and want to emphasize that actually compassion begins with us. That if we're to create compassionate cultures, as people who work in healthcare, we must first learn to be compassionate towards ourselves, paying attention to ourselves, understanding the situation we're in, having an empathic response, and taking intelligent action to help ourselves so that we can then be truly compassionate to those we serve. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. That was really, really interesting. I've got a variety of questions for you. And I suppose to start off with this one, in the current climate of national change, how would you suggest staff morale is maintained with such little autonomy to keep enthusiasm for QI and care?
Can you say it again?
Yes, I think I might need to.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understood it. In the current climate of national change, how would you suggest staff morale is maintained, I guess, when there's such little autonomy, in order to keep enthusiasm for QI and care?
Well, I think I kind of talked about it during the course of my presentation. I think it's really important how each of us behaves. It's important that each of us takes responsibility in every interaction every day for the culture of the organization, because culture is the consequence of all of the behaviors that go on within the organization. So every interaction by every person every day shapes the culture of the organization. So when we come to those interactions, I believe, in a compassionate, supportive, positive way, then we shape the culture. And if everybody in the organization is approaching interactions in that way, then we maintain that strength and that positivity despite what's going on at national level.
Thank you very much. Next question is, what role do you feel quality improvement has in improving leadership?
I think it's really important. You know, there is a new national strategy being developed for leadership in the country. It's going to be called the National Improvement and Leadership Development Strategy. It will have 4 elements. One will be spreading improvement skills across the country. So more people are going to be coming to visit you to learn about what you're doing. The second is the importance of developing continuous improvement across the system. The third is ensuring we've got the leadership in place everywhere. And the fourth is ensuring that we've got appropriate leadership development. One of the elements of leadership development, I think, must be helping leaders lead to do quality improvement. And that's not just about them having quality improvement skills, but knowing how to do quality improvement as leaders. So I think that we need to focus quality improvement efforts on leadership itself. So we need every leader to see that their leadership should be subject to quality improvement efforts and processes, because leadership should be a continuous learning process. It's such a privilege that we should be working to improve our leadership continually. So I think it's really, really fundamental to great leadership.
Thank you. So next question is, how do we persuade the senior leaders of more healthcare organisations of the value of quality improvement thinking?
Well, you know, in a way, I don't think we need to. It's now going to be part of the national agenda. It's going to be what all of the, you know, they call them the arm's length bodies, NHS England, CQC, NHS Improvement NICE. They've all come together and agreed that the National Improvement and Leadership Development Strategy will have 2 components of the 4 focused on quality improvement. Every organisation in the country will be required to be focusing on quality improvement and spreading quality improvement skills, because there's a recognition that that's the only way that we can respond to the challenges that the service faces in the current situation. So, you know, in a sense, there's no need to persuade them, because that's on the agenda now, absolutely squarely. So more and more people will be coming here.
Okay, thank you. And finally, final question is, you've spoken in the past regarding the importance of humour at work. Please, can you talk about this?
So this is a little known fact, Andy, but when I finished university education, I went and worked in a coal mine for a year in South Wales. They didn't do much quality improvement there, but anyway, it was a really tough environment. I was working as a labourer there for a year. It's a really horrible environment, and it was so awful. I eventually made the decision to go back into academia because I thought that would be better. How wrong I was. But actually, what was really interesting about working underground was 2 things. One is everybody looked out for each other. It just was, there was nothing more important than each other's safety. And the second is everybody was just funny all of the time, because it was a way of kind of compensating for what's a very, very harsh, unpleasant environment. And, you know, humor is just so important. There's a way of communicating safety and closeness and valuing of each other. And it's also, we know, a way of helping us to think more creatively. So when we use humor, we're much more creative in the way we behave, as well as being more positive with each other.
Great, that's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, should you join me in giving Michael a great vote of thanks for his...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So now myself and Anna are going to talk you through a little bit about what's coming up in the next year. And I guess I wanted to start, I mean, we keep hearing about evolving, don't we? Michael was just talking about constantly evolving your behaviour. And we're constantly evolving the way that we're delivering the programme as well. So Amar talked you through the driver diagram earlier on, and we're constantly updating that based on new feedback. And a good example of that was our recent mixed method evaluation for the first year of the programme that we did in the summer last year. And a lot of the stuff that came out of that was fed back into the programme. So from our perspective, we think there are 5 key areas that we need to focus on in the next year. One area will be embedding QI into directorates. Another is thinking about making QI work itself easier. Thinking about scale up and spread. We've heard it already, increasing service user and care involvement and linking quality and cost. To talk you through the first 2, here's Emma.
So we want to move away from quality improvement being just a separate activity that exists with those that are keen, to it becoming the way that we tackle our complex problems, for it to really be part of the culture and the way that we work. And so to do that needs a lot of effort and attention. And we're really going to spend a lot of time in the next year or 2 thinking about how to make this the way that we operate. And that needs thinking at lots of levels, but mainly about leadership behaviors really here. The first thing is really thinking about how we can make sure that from the most senior level at the board to any single team in the organization, across all 300 teams, there's a sense of alignment. So people know how their work fits into the big picture of where the organization is heading. that is almost non-existent in the health service because there's such complexity. Each team is working usually on about 20 or 30 things, whereas we need to get better at saying, here's the 2 things we want to focus on for the next year. The 2 most important, most complex things that we're going to spend some of our energy on using QI to help tackle. So helping us to figure out what our improvement priorities are and aligning those from top to bottom and bottom to top is really key. We talked earlier this morning about coaching, and I think that's another key part of embedding this within directorates. Local people who understand the local system, credible leaders in that area who have some time and space and skills to be able to help teams tackle the things they really need to tackle. And then we need to do things around system redesign, changing the way we recruit people, changing the way we appraise performance, changing the way we develop and nurture leaders to help make sure that becomes part of the culture of the organization. We equally need to spend time on making this work easier, right? Nobody has time to spend messing about, trying to do the nitty-gritty work of data or collecting PDSAs. We need to make that stuff as easy as possible so people can spend their time making the changes they need to make. And again, that doesn't really exist in the health system. There is no real structural system to make this easy. The first thing we started doing is making data transparent and accessible. Okay, we collect tons of data in the health service. We do very little with it, and we make almost none of it transparent to our staff. If you can't see how you're doing, how can you ever hope to improve? So 6 months ago, we made all of our quality and safety data accessible to everyone as time series analysis. Doesn't really exist in most places in the UK. But this is a really key first step for us. It's only a first step, but it's a first step to giving people the data they need to be able to improve. Coming next, we're going to bring onto that same platform violence dashboards, access dashboards, so people can automatically get the data they need in control charts if they're working on those topics. Again, making stuff easier for people. The next thing we're going to do is move towards all of our contract performance indicators being viewed as time series analysis. Again, most teams, people working in teams, have no idea how they're doing on their contract performance. Again, if you don't know, how can you improve? So we're going to try and start making that more accessible, and again, critically, as time series analysis, so you can understand variation over time. We've also spent the last 3 months trying to design a new web platform for this work, a single place where all of this QI work can happen. So this will allow people to be able to drag and drop things into driver diagrams and to mess about with it much more easily than they can at the moment. It'll allow you to pick change ideas and attach them to secondary drivers. It'll allow you to document your PDSAs really simply in web forms. And the best bit is it'll do your data for you. And everyone knows that data is the hardest bit of quality improvement. So you can create your measures, you can put your data in, and it will create your charts for you. No more messing around with Excel, unless you really want to. So it'll hopefully make everything accessible in a single online place where everyone does their work and can access the whole repository of work across the trust. And it will have real-time analytics, so people can see how things are going across the directorate, across the whole trust. And that will be coming soon in the next few weeks.
So let's now talk about scale up and spread. We have now got 31 teams like these who are seeing sustainable improvement of the order that they can start to think about scaling up their work and spreading it in the organisation. I think that's absolutely fantastic. 31 projects. And you heard Bob Lloyd talking earlier on about structure and process and stuff like that, but we're trying to take a leaf out of that book as well. By putting in place structures and processes and a culture, we're hoping we'll get the outcome, which in this case is spreading that work. Because think about it. QI isn't just about having one pocket of excellence or one great project. It's about spreading that throughout the organisation, isn't it? So everybody can share. So we've put in place effectively a 4-step process to help support that work. So the first one we've got is a system for identifying projects that are starting to see results. So there'll be many QI leads here, there'll be many project leads and people like that. And you are able to see project scores, how you're doing. And this gives us a system, an early warning system to say, look, this team is starting to do really well. How do we think about taking that to the next level? The second thing we've done is built a process to help people really think about what they need to do to scale up their work and spread it. So on the QI microsite, which is freely available, we've got a lot of information there, almost figuring out what's the difference between scale up and spread, and what are the key questions you really need to ask before you start to do that work. The third thing is that we don't want to just commit one of the 7 spreadly sins, which is just give one team has done very well, haven't they? Let's get them to do everything. They'll do that throughout the entire organisation. This is not about that. So it's being mature enough to say, if we want to spread this elsewhere, who would be the right people to help support that work, to give it the best chance of opportunity? And finally, we love QI methodology, don't we? So we continue to use QI methodology. We continue to use data over time. And even when we're implementing, we continue to use PDSA cycles to allow us to do that. Great example of this is the violence reduction work that's been going on in Tower Hamlets. So if we start at one of the areas of Genesis, which was Glowboard, back many, many years ago, they saw some amazing results, absolutely amazing results by testing some things out. So this is one ward. And you can see, actually, if you look at the median, they've seen an 87% reduction in violence for many years now. Isn't that fantastic? And we've got some of the Glowboard team here as well. It's absolutely fantastic. And now, thinking about, right, we've got this thing that we know works really well. How do we scale that up? So we then scaled it up in a very careful fashion to the whole of the Tower Hamlets Centre mental health. So all 4 acute wards and the 2 pickies as well. And look at this, some quite cool results. They are seeing overall a 50% reduction in violence now. Once again, not for 1 month, not for 2 months, for at least a year, okay? So that's really, really great. But now that takes us on to our next conundrum. How do we support this work to go even wider? How do we take it from Tower Hamlets and spread it throughout the organisation? And we're doing that now. We're spreading it to Newham, and we're spreading it to also to City and Hackney. So that's where we are now. But by using this process to make sure that this project's got the best chance to sort of spread is really, really important, as we just spoke through. The second thing we're going to talk about here is increasing service user care or customer involvement. So you've heard us talk about this lots and lots and lots. We now have a service user and carer QI steering group made up of service users, carers, PPLs, and the QI team as well. And we are really going for this. So this is our driver diagram. We've got a very, very comprehensive strategy because this is not a simple issue. And some things that you'll be seeing coming up will be based on whether we're looking for little I involvements. Remember, little I is when we're involving service users throughout the course of the project on a periodic basis, whereas big I is where they're an equal member of the team. So let's look at some of the cool things that are going to be coming up in the next year. On little I, think of the thousands of patients that we have coming through our services, year by year. Think of the thousands of people, their voices, their experience. We need to try to capture that better. So we're now going to give teams the opportunity to add questions related to QI work that they're doing onto their electronic patient experience feedback systems. So whether that's the iPad that sits in the CMHT where service users can say how they're feeling, or the iPads that we're using in wards. So we're going to be adding that for teams. So you can say, for example, you want to improve the quality of food, you can have questions about what's the quality of food and get real-time feedback sent back to you as a QI team if you're working on that. And the other big area is we're really working hard to make sure that as many service users as possible are able to be involved in Big I. So we've now got QI on the Recovery College syllabus, but not just information about QI, but the whole set of skills that will help service users better do that. So confidence, being able to talk in big groups, it all fits in. And we're also working very, very closely with OT to help create more opportunities to get service users and carers involved. Anna.
So the final of our 5 areas of focus is about linking quality and cost. If we're really going to be using QI to tackle our complex challenges, this has to be an area of focus. And so when you think about the return on investment from this work, it's a question we often get asked. The most important return on investment is this one here about improving service user and carer outcomes. That is the most important reason for doing this work. There are also other reasons for doing this work and other returns you get from it. You'll already have seen from some of the posters and some of the table presentations how teams are getting more efficient, more productive, and more effective about the way they work through this method. There'll also be lots of intangible benefits from doing this. So things around staff experience of working in this organization, about our organizational reputation, about generating revenue as an organization to help our sustainability for the longer term. Those are intangible benefits from QI. But there are a small number of areas where you can see direct cash that could come out from quality improvement. And in any balanced portfolio of quality improvement, you would have a small number of your projects tackling this area. So here's 4 examples for you. First of all, you'll have heard probably about the violence reduction work we did in older adult wards. And our finance team has done a cost model on this to understand what are the direct costs related to violence during this work. So you've got here before costs, which are about 120,000, during the project costs and after the project costs. And these are costs directly attributable to violence. So you can see already direct cash savings from this work. The second project here around pressure ulcer reduction, one of our big areas of work. And our finance team have modeled the pay costs and non-pay costs of managing grade 2s, grade 3s, and grade 4s. And that is for our system. These are based on local costs that we incur. So we can see now that if we are to prevent a certain number of pressure ulcers, what will be the costs that we save from doing that? This team here in Newham, an older adult ward, has managed to reduce bed occupancy from a pretty stable figure of 85 to 88% down to around 50 to 60%. And that's been sustained now for many months. So if we can scale that up to the other single ward in Tower Hamlets and Hackney, we could see potential for, again, removing cash from this system to help us become more efficient and effective as a service. And last example here is the disciplinary process, which the HR team has been leading on and which won the poster competition today. It's a fantastic project. They are looking at reducing the time from starting the disciplinary process to ending. And our finance team have modeled the costs of that process. So you can see here the data for the 2014-15 costs of suspensions related to this process. And the team have already managed to reduce the average length of time from over 100 days to around 50 days. And if they can sustain that for a year, that would equate to savings of nearly $500,000 a year, direct cost savings. So there are lots of places where we're going to be starting to link quality and cost together and doing it in a sensible way. The final point we wanted to mention as a closing remark is just about how much impact this is having, not just here in East London and in Bedfordshire and Luton, but beyond that. The application of quality improvement in mental health services and community services has not really been tested before. There's very few places doing this work around the world. So there's lots of interest on how we're doing this, on the changes we're testing, and the outcomes we're receiving. And we thought we'd finish with 3 messages from people from across the globe who have heard about the work, been here to visit, or heard about it in some other way, and what inspiration they've taken from it.
Hello, my name is David Grayson. I'm Clinical Lead for Patient Safety, Patient Experience here at Waitemata DHB in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'm wishing you well there at the East London Foundation Trust for your conference, which is coming up in March. We greatly admire the work that you're doing and hugely impressed by the awards you won for the Nursing Times Award as well as the Patient Safety Awards there in the NHS. We think you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up and have a great conference, and we look forward to keeping in touch. Cheers.
My name is Abhishek Bhartiya, and I'm the director of a non-profit hospital in Delhi. I had the chance of visiting East London in January 2015. I was impressed by the systematic manner in which East London has built the will and the capability for quality improvement, and the momentum that it has generated with a portfolio of quality improvement projects. But what struck me even more was the willingness of leaders to share their learning and their humility. We are only just getting started, is what I heard Amar Shah and others say, but I left believing that East London had become an inspiring example for healthcare institutions around the world.
Hello and greetings from the Institute of Mental Health Singapore. I'm Hong Chun, the CEO of IMH, and I had the wonderful privilege of visiting the East London Foundation Trust and seeing for myself the wonderful work that you are doing with your service users. I visited quite a few of your centers and ended the day with a wonderful party with service users and staff alike. I congratulate you on your QI conference and for 2 years of wonderful work at improving the quality and safety of the care of your services. I hope that you will have the opportunity to visit us in Singapore one of these days, and I believe that the Institute of Mental Health Singapore and East London Foundation Trust can work collaboratively and in partnership to further improve the lives of the service users and the caregivers that we look after.
the most exciting part of the day, the last 5 minutes before lunch, I'm going to hand over to Emma.
I would like to welcome a couple of people to come join me on stage. Stephen Sanford, Dr. Stuart Wood, Salem Hannah, and Bondi Nettie, please.
Thank you. So people who know me will know I'm a little bit biased when I say this, but we're going to end with a song. Don't panic. Stay calm. Life jacket's under your seat. So Amar approached me 6 months ago and said, Stephen, creativity is a big part of QI. How can we really build the message around communication through creativity? And my response to that was, yeah, we'll write a song about QI. That's how to spread the word. We hadn't heard at that stage that NHS Lewisham were heading towards the #1 spot. But we wonder whether we're hot on their heels today with our contribution and the endorsements that come from that, from celebrities around the world, etc. So I have on stage with me a group of very talented people, probably the most talented towards this end, drawing attention to our pharmacist with an external CV of tremendous renown as a rapper, composer, lyricist. A big hand for Von D. And beside him is Stuart, who's one of our music therapists, who's also contributed to this process of creating some music as an offering and gift to you today. So how do you write a QI song? Well, the first thing you do is you get your Post-it notes out and you head all around the trust and you offer 4 lunchtime workshops to City and Hackney, Tower Hamlets, blah, 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 and you get everyone's ideas. And the ideas that came up from those workshops were that the song should be a rap. We thought that was the best musical genre to communicate something of East London. We thought the music should be original, which should be our music. We didn't want to use someone else's music. We thought the music should be really culturally inclusive. And really importantly, it should represent the breadth and depth of diversity in the trust and really hold the central message about why we're doing QI together and the values it has for supporting our service users. Finally, though, the very most important thing is it should be fun. So Salim then took it further, and with Emma and colleagues, we just have been around the trust over the past couple of weeks, coercing, encouraging, bribing people to be involved. So thank you everyone who's contributed to this project and to the service users that have been involved as well. We couldn't have done it without you. I don't think there's anything more to say apart from...
So we would now like to play you the video and the song that the staff in East London and service users in East London have produced.
Oi, mate, come here. What's happening? Something's going down, man. ELFT. What ELFT? East London NHS Foundation Trust. There's this geezer, mate. This geezer's about to talk. What? Shh. Quiet. Yeah, the only I in QI is improvement. You and I, yeah, we form up a team. Add him and her, plus he and she equals bringing ideas into being. Trust. You can feel the movement from Hackney to Newham to Hamlet to Luton. Trust. Bedfordshire, another question, sir, is what are we doing? We're quality improving, not top down, but we do it from the ground up. Planning, doing, studying, acting, while embracing everything around us. A new foundation, a newfound nation of quality mavens. Taking it back to basics, the sky is where we are gonna take it. Hey, this QI thing is serious. We've got to alert the others. Wait, what's that? Wait. Yeah. Harm we're reducing. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. We care, we respect, we're inclusive. We're quality improving. Anytime, any place, what we doing. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. Yeah. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. Yeah. We're quality improving. Quality improvement. Listen that we learn, make changes and grow. As we make the change, trust the changes will show. Everything we do it with patience. Everything we do it with patience. The care isn't start, be it African or Asian, Caucasian, or anyone from any other nation. Inclusive, we all form part of the equation. When you add it up, you get something that's amazing. Blow away the waste till it's quality remaining. You can feel the heat from the trail that we're blazing. Everything we do, yeah, we're doing it with patience. Everything we do, yeah, we're doing it for patience. Listen that we learn, make changes and grow. As we make the change, trust the changes will show. Set the targets, work hard to achieve the results you might find hard to believe. Perspective sharp, objective smart. One eye and QI, work hard for the team. Yeah, harm we're reducing. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. We care, we respect, we're inclusive. We're quality improving. Anytime, any place, what we doing. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. Yeah, yeah. We're quality improving. Tell them what we're doing. We're quality improving. Yeah. We're quality improving. We're quality improving. Listen that we learn, make changes and grow. As we make the change, trust the changes will show. 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 Changes will show.
Okay. So one last thing. It's customary at these events to end with a big photograph, but instead of a photograph, we're going to finish the song. We'd like you all to stand up now and face this way. Okay, can everyone have a focus on Salim, who's right in the corner there, yeah? And we're going to, after two, simply say, in as enthusiastic a way we can, we're quality improving. Ready? 1, 2. We're quality improving. This time, we're going to do it as softly as we can. Ready? 1, 2. Let's get that a bit tighter. When you speak softly, you listen more carefully. So let's, after two, see if we can get this really tight. Are you ready? 1, 2. Now, this time we're going to do it loud, and this is going to be the one take wonders, everyone. And we're going to do a little gesticulation because that really adds to the effect. So something like, we're quality improving, or we're quality improving. For those people at the back, yeah? Ready? So this is it. One chance, everybody, yeah? Before we go viral. Ready? 1, 2. Well done.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to the QI annual conference. Lunch will be provided both in Legends A and Legends B.